Welcome to the first FPL reaction stream of the new season, but am I actually first in my mini league? No. No, I'm not, because I don't have Erling Haaland, and I made a few mistakes maybe with my original team selection, but guess what? It's no surprise there, really. If you've watched my channel for several years, you know I get some things absolutely spot on, and others, well, maybe not so much. But what we're going to do here today is react with our initial thoughts to the Gameweek 1 fixtures so far. We still have the Sunday games and, of course, one Monday night fixture between Leeds United and Everton. And looking ahead, of course, to Gameweek 2, and there will be a best free hit team, wildcard squad, which will be looking a bit longer term, transfer tips, and my own team selection, where I could possibly be using a chip very early on in this season with the extra boosters at our disposal. Drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and all that good stuff if you want to support Dylan RCM, FPL Dylan even further. It is greatly appreciated, and there are many links in the description. That includes my Patreon, the Championships Discord server, you name it. There's also my FPL League and the FPL Challenge League, so you can become a part of it and see if you can win both of those leagues as well. And I actually have the same points in both fantasy formats. 42 points is what I've got so far, ranked around 2.3 million. Brother, what's that? What's that, brother? Yeah, that's what we're looking at the moment. But let's go into your questions. Otherwise, I might just be a little bit too negative about my start to the FPL campaign. Kevin says, I had Semenyo benched in favour of Ismaila Shah. It's a bit mad. Awful start, 8 to play tomorrow, though. Well, that's the thing, though. You've got 8 players left. So that is definitely a nice safety blanket, so to speak. But I can't lie to you, benching Semenyo for Sarr is very painful. And in my preliminary draft video, which I made several weeks ago before the game even launched, I had Semenyo on my bench. Thank God I didn't do that, otherwise I'd be cussing him one more time. Easy says, first team has 26 points with 6 to go. The second team has 53 points with 3 players to go. You need to remind me of the players you've got, because I remember preferring the first squad. And guess what? The second one has double the amount of points. It's absolutely crazy, but that is what FPL is all about. Easy also says, currently watching Malaysian players play in La Liga right now. Which players are you referring to and which clubs? Because I'm not going to lie, in terms of La Liga, I'm not watching at the moment because I'm going live and I just got home as well after watching some matches, especially that Man City game against Wolves. Yeah, unfortunately, Man City are back. Wei-Seng also states, almost thought it's going to be tomorrow and going for sleep. Well, I surprised you for once. Yeah. Piyush says, these people that do random shite and are #1 in the world annoy me so much. Yeah, but, I mean, look, being #1 even for a split second is obviously still not an achievement, but it's obviously something nice to have. Yeah, I get what you're saying there, but ultimately a lot of these, especially those that win like the Manager of the Week awards, they're kind of like having a second or third team and they're just doing something random. Let me captain Ballard and something like that, and then they finish first. Well done. Okay, but what about the next week? They probably end up finishing outside the top million, but there you go. Wei-Seng also puts in the live chat 37 points and 3.5 million with 5 players left. It's dangerous. Yeah, it certainly is, but it's not a terrible score. I mean, I'm not really happy with my 42 points, but really Reinders has saved me a little bit. But no bonus points for him. I'll be talking about the bonus points very soon from the game so far tonight, and obviously the one from yesterday. And looking forward to the ones from tomorrow. I'll be showing you my predictions, and so far I don't think I've got one exact scoreline, but at least I've got a few predicted lineups somewhat accurate, especially the ones from Friday night. Not so much from Saturday, probably 1 or 2 wrong from every single squad, but that will be talked about very soon. If you want to see a predicted lineups video for Gameweek 2, let me know down in the comment section below, but that'll be yet another podcast on top of what I talked about at the beginning of this live stream. Patrick puts 44 points. Hi Dylan as well, even though that was in the other way round. With 5 to go. Yeah, I think that's a decent number of players left. Is it worth doing Rodgers out for Semenyo? I have Watkins and Villa look really bad today. Yeah, in the first half, Newcastle had 8 shots to Aston Villa 0. And they also had 2 big chances, and obviously Newcastle were able to, well, not concede a single big chance because Aston Villa had nothing up front. Alexander Isak will be a massive miss for them, especially if he does leave by the end of the summer transfer window. But yeah, I was quite bullish on Newcastle at the beginning of the summer, but once you saw all these players rejecting them, and obviously the Isak situation, things have definitely changed for them over the last couple of weeks, so that's a big shame. 44 points isn't too shabby. I think that's a decent score, even though you're always hoping for even better. And I think Game Week 1 might be lower scoring. It seems to be that way so far, but maybe Cole Palmer will help a lot of us on Sunday. Haaland worth bringing in straight away, lads? It depends on the context, because, for example, if you're selling Salah to get Haaland, I'd be a bit careful about that. I think it's a good time to play Newcastle, despite their decent performance against Aston Villa today. West Ham were nasty, yes. Losing 3-0 against Sunderland. I mean, I never ruled out Sunderland winning the game, but 3-0, I'm not going to lie, I never expected that. Fair play to them. Maybe that's something to watch out for. Maybe Xhaka is a transformative signing for the Black Cats. But West Ham are trash. Weiseng also says, sold Kudus for Rodgers last minute. It's FPL. Yeah, I'm a bit frustrated about Kudus because if I went for the Bowen strategy, and that means no Cole Palmer, I would have also had Kudus. I think my regret will be not going for the Spurs winger instead of Ndai, but yeah, we all have those stories. I do think long-term Rodgers is better than Kudus, but yeah, so far it's not looking good for you. Yogesh also puts, Liverpool fan never here. Wait, what? Why was Salah so popular amazes me. The goals will clearly be distributed this season. I went with Haaland. Well, he still scored at the end, right? And even in years where he was the best FPL asset, like a 9-0 win against Bournemouth, although maybe he was second best that campaign, he blanked in a 9-0 win. So at least he did something. I'm not going to complain too much. It's something to monitor. Obviously, in the Community Shield final, he did nothing. And he had a pretty poor pre-season in general. Only one goal, which came against Athletic Bilbao. But yeah, I think that's too early to say. I still think Salah will be in the top 2 free assets in the game. For that price, you need him to be the best, obviously. And getting him or Haaland right, if you only choose to go for one of them, will be crucial. But yeah, I still think Salah is going to be a great option and significantly better than Gakpo, Wirtz, Ekitike, etc. Easy says, Salah captain for my first team, Haaland captain for my second team. And your second team is doing even better. So yeah, fair play. At least you've got something, or maybe one team in a very good rank. Thomas 000 with 40 points with the bench boost and Palmer, Bruno, Sanchez and Pedro left to play. Decent score. You've only got 4 players left and a bench boost. I don't know how to feel about that, and I wonder who's on your bench, but sometimes people do a bit of housery of the shite, if you can even say that, and they put, like, I don't know, their best looking players on the bench, like Bodro, Kudus and people like that. Weiseng is also here again, even though it's late in Malaysia. Planning to do Rodgers and Aaron Wan-Bissaka to Rangers and a 6 million defender in Game Week 3, but let's see how. Yeah, I was with a mate of mine, and he had Cherky, he was on the bench. He was absolutely raging when Rangers scored the goal, and he said, I'm going to rage transfer him in. And I said, just relax, because I've done this before. I've been there. Don't rage transfer. So I'd wait a little bit, especially after the Sunday games, and preferably after Monday night. But there will be a lot of transfer activity in the first few days, so expect a lot of price rises. I think Rangers will be one of them early in the week. Hey Dylan, awesome start as always. FPL-wise, not so much. I think it's very average, and to be honest, even last year, which was my worst ever rank and campaign, I actually had a very good start in Game Week 1. I was around 200k. I then, was quite stable in Game Week 2, but afterwards it went really downhill between Game Weeks 3 to 8. FPL-wise, though, in terms of the content, yeah, I'd say it's a pretty decent start. I'm happy, obviously, with the people who turned up for the deadline stream yesterday, and it already feels like a few days ago. A lot has happened since then. 3 people triple captain Ballard, disgusting. Yes, not only is the 3-0 West Ham loss disgusting, but also the 3 triple captains for Ballard. Surely one of them at least was basically a second account. I'm convinced about it. Welcome, Genius Gamer and Jimmy James. Hey Dylan, what do we do with Frimpong? Well, after being subbed off seconds before the 60-minute mark, not banking that jammy clean sheet, which it would have been, he's facing Newcastle and Arsenal up next. It's not looking too good. There's Burnley away in Game Week 4, and Conor Bradley wasn't even on the bench yesterday. So I think the advice would be to hold at the moment, but certainly if you could roll back the clocks a little bit, yeah, I'd rather go for Van Dijk, 8 Nuri, and other 6 million defenders, even Gabriel, despite Arsenal's poor fixtures. But I think the recommendation is to hold. I have Arias as the 8th attacker. Should I keep him? Well, Man City at home was always going to be tough. I thought Wolves could possibly score. My final prediction was 2-0. I think Arias is a keep at this moment in time. I will be doing a transfer tip, so the likes of Frimpong and Arias could be covered in that video, so keep your eyes peeled for it. But Yeah, I think with Arias at 5.5 million, that isn't a particular concern or priority. I know you might be very interested in going for Rangers, but facing Tottenham at home, I think Spurs could cause problems for Man City, as they typically do at the Etihad. Easy is back, saying could be a trap to buy players in form in this perspective game week. They're not going well in the next game week. I absolutely agree. I think it's very easy to kind of be very reactionary. I know this is called a reaction stream. Well done, Dylan. But you also want to temper your expectations and try to add a bit of cold logic to it and not just react to the highest point scorers of game week 1. So yeah, I think that is very good advice. And ultimately, with some of these players that are going to be mentioned, should I sell Arias or Frimpong? In most cases, I'm going to recommend just keeping them. Konsa's a little bit different, obviously, with that red card against Newcastle. He's on my bench. He's still got 3 points and outscored Frimpong, but that's another story. Mick DC says, I am so angry. I had Richarlison and Kudus in my team until the last minute and then changed it around. Yeah, it looks terrible for Game Week 1. I think Kudus is a decent long-term pick, so I can definitely understand your frustrations there. But Richarlison, nah, I really don't think that's a mistake going without him. He scored a brace, a brilliant goal today. I don't think going without him is the wrong choice. If anything, it might just be short-term pain and long-term gain. That's the way I see it. And also Solanke is first choice striker for Spurs. The only reason why he didn't start in Game Week 1 or in the UEFA Super Cup final, which Tottenham lost, sorry, yeah, is because Solanke had some problems in pre-season. Adam G says, I have 55 points with Murillo, Bruno, Palmer, Pedro, and maybe Eze to go. Glad I went with Haaland, Reinders, and Aït-Nouri. Yeah, that triple up in Man City was very helpful to you, and 55 points is a very good score in my opinion, and I'm guessing you're in the top 1 million, but I wouldn't know because I've got less than that. Unluckily, switch Kudus for Rodgers last minute. You're not the only one, Badder. Who was it that said that? Was it Weising? I'll double check that, but luckily started Van der Ven instead of Konsa. Yeah, I have a few regrets about not going for Van der Ven over Pedro Porro, saving $1 million, getting a clean sheet, of course, in the process, and maybe using that money. To be honest, though, one of my big debates in the deadline stream yesterday was, should I go for Porro and Gakpo or Van der Ven and Wirtz? So it has worked out well for me from that perspective, but maybe the extra millions could have been quite helpful elsewhere. For example, with Ndai, we'll see how he does on Monday night. But yeah, Watkins was the biggest disappointment for me in my starting 11. Sean says, what's a good score as things stand? Assuming most of us have 5-8 players played already. I'd say a good score is 50 plus. I mean, if you got 40-ish, even just a little bit under, it's not terrible. And some people might have like 32 points and 8 players left. I think that's a great position to be in. So it depends a lot on context. Obviously, you mentioned that sort of scenario of having 5-8 players featuring. So yeah, I'd say 50 plus points would be a decent score. Tommy says, I quit already. No, don't quit. I mean, it might be terrible on the Saturday. I had this pattern last season where I kept doing crap on the Saturday. I was doubting my FPL existence. I was considering deleting the channel. And then on the Sunday, I had, I don't know, something magical happen. You know, maybe the heavens above opened up and I got some FPL points. So don't quit. Ultimately, if you don't enjoy the game, it's not worth playing. I always say that. But yeah, it's only, what, over just one day of worth of football. We've still got plenty of games left in Game Week 1. Don't quit. Merman says, so unlucky with your Frimpong pick. It was 20 seconds. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a fine line between being really unlucky and really fortunate because ultimately Frimpong was subbed off at 60 minutes and 1 second and then Liverpool concede 2 minutes later to Semenyo. Then people are going to be like, Dylan, you're a jammy prick. You are such a twat. So there you go. It's a fine line, right? So yeah, I would rather get the points and the cusses and, you know, the hate than getting the sympathy. But I do understand your point. Genius Gamer says, Kudus or Semenyo for the next 6? That is a very good question, actually. Spurs do have superior fixtures, but I've always been very consistent about Bournemouth saying that beyond Game Week 1, their fixtures are actually pretty decent. So actually, that's a good segue in terms of the fixture difficulty analysis. So I'm going to go to Fantasy Football Hub right now. And if we look between Game Weeks 2 to 9 for the next 8 game weeks, Wolves are top, Bournemouth are second, and you have to go all the way down to 14th for Tottenham Hotspur, which is quite surprising to be fair. But I also think a key reason why Spurs ranked so highly in terms of the FDR was because of their Game Week 1 fixture against Burnley. So maybe if we look a bit longer term, so let's see if I can actually make a case for Tottenham Hotspur here. So game week 11, no, not according to this algorithm anyway. Yeah, it's not looking too good for Tottenham in terms of the FDR here, which is quite surprising. They're 17th if you look really long term, but I think it's probably worth looking at the first or the next 6 to 8 game weeks. Maybe some of you are considering a early wild card in 3 or 4, so that could also change things. But that is a very close one. I would probably say Semenyo at this moment in time, but fixtures aren't everything. I mean, Semenyo did so well against Liverpool. I doubt he's going to produce those returns against Wolves, despite obviously facing a worse team on paper. So that'd be my 2 cents on it. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat. Plug away with the likes, shares, subscriptions, all that good stuff. I think we got 200 subscribers in yesterday's deadline stream, so I do appreciate it. UCL Fantasy went live 2 days ago, and very soon I'll be making a first draft for the Champions League, so keep your eyes peeled for that as well. So let's get back to the live chat. I will be going through all your questions. Just be a little bit patient. Obviously, the reaction streams, even if there are a lot of people tuning in, it typically is a bit calmer. Obviously, there's no rush with the deadlines, so don't worry. You're not going to miss anything today anyway. Spurs and Haaland got me like 50 points almost. Yeah, that's more than my entire team, but congratulations. For Remy FC, with 40 points, got Konsa, no Haaland, 8 Nuri. Yeah, 40 points is okay. It's not bad, but I also don't think it's maybe what you're quite hoping for. And over the years, I've done very well in Game Week 1 with 80, 90 points. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to get that this time round. Hopefully I'm wrong. Mark my words, Crystal Palace will score tomorrow. Another injury in Tosin Adarabioyo. Yeah, I heard that Tosin was suffering with injury problems, but Maresca kind of cleared him in the press conference a few days ago. But yeah, I wasn't aware of Tosin being unavailable for tomorrow. That is a blow for Chelsea. It's another problem. I've been quite consistent about Hato. I know he's been signed as a left-back to cover for Marc Cucurella, but I think he could be a very good option in central defence because he has played there for Ajax, and Arsenal were linked with him for many years. So I think Hato and Chalobah would be a good centre-back partnership, but maybe it'll be Badiashile once more for Chelsea. Easy says Facundo Garces plays Deportivo Alaves against Levante. Okay, that's a Spanish name, so I'm guessing he's got like a mixture there. And obviously, you've mentioned before that a few Argentinians have had Malaysian links, which is very surprising to me anyway. Genius Gamer. Oh, sorry, I just got the community leaderboard up. I didn't mean to do that. Hopefully, Chelsea buy another centre-back. Yeah, I think Chelsea need a centre-back and a goalkeeper. And I honestly don't think that Hato starting there would be bad for them. If they could sign, I mean, I don't know who's available in the market, but a top-quality centre-back alongside Hato with Cucurella and James/Gusto, I think that's a very good defence. And then you've got a better goalkeeper than Sanchez, but I just don't see Chelsea signing a new goalkeeper now. Yogesh says 64 with triple Chelsea to play. Yeah, very good score. Only 3 players left, but you should comfortably get 70, 80 points. It could even be more, depending on what Palmer does tomorrow. Those slot subs at minute 59 are such a treat. It's a treat for non-Frimpong and Kirkers owners, yeah, but not for those that own him. He did a lot of this with Trent last season, subbing him off around 60, 64 minutes, but 59, that was quite rare. For that to happen to Frimpong and Kirkers was quite surprising, but Liverpool do have depth in those fullback positions. I think the surprise with Frimpong is that Bradley isn't even available yet, so what if Bradley is back in Game Week 2 or 3? What does that mean for Frimpong? That's where the alarm bells will definitely be ringing, and the main reason why I went for Frimpong in the first place, besides his goal against Crystal Palace in the Community Shield, was because of the Conor Bradley injury. So maybe I've messed up big time there. 33 points with 5 players to go. Yeah, I get that. It's not worth quitting. I'll tell you that, for free. You could easily bounce back with the same team, no changes. The fixtures might look terrible, but I've got that kind of sneaky feeling if I do free hit for the upcoming game week, it could be an absolute disaster class and my original team will outscore what I go for. But triple Arsenal on the free hit does look very enticing. Will Defcon play a part in the bonus? I believe so, but it's kind of a small sample size. We haven't seen enough yet. I think it's probably worth analysing over the weekend, and I think I will be delving into the stats and analysing this and then giving you a definitive answer in the next stream, so preferably for next Saturday. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Actually, no, the stream I think is going to be on Friday, and we've got a lot of Friday deadlines coming up. I think it's going to be for the first few game weeks. I'm going to just triple check that because I'm not entirely sure. So yeah, for Game Week 2, we do have a Friday deadline on the 22nd of August. West Ham versus Chelsea is the opener at 8 p.m. in the UK. Game Week 3 is on Saturday, it looks like. Also is Game Week 4, so I think things have changed a little bit. But yeah, the next deadline will be on Friday. That's the next stream, of course, so keep your eyes peeled. But yeah, I think DEFCON will play a part in the bonus. To what extent is definitely unsure, and I think that requires more analysis. Hi there, Rangers will be 6 million in 3 weeks. It is possible. I think he will go up in price in a few days' time, maybe even by Tuesday. It could be as early as that, but I won't be complaining with Rangers in my team. Feremi FC says, please bench one of these for Game Week 2. Borro, Nico Williams, Murillo, Reinders, Strand Larsen, and Estev. It's probably going to be Borro, even though he did really well against Man City last season. And he's got the set pieces, the DEFCON potential, goals, and assists. So there are many avenues for points. But the clean sheet, I don't think Spurs will keep one against Man City. Looking to sell Marmoush straight away. Is Semenyo the best option? I still like Rodgers a lot, to be honest, despite the blank in Game Week 1 and Aston Villa being quite poor, especially in the first half. But I'm going to say Semenyo is one of the best options. But yeah, I'd also encourage you to broaden your horizons. Kudus obviously will be of big interest after the 2 assists today. You've also got Ndai. I mean, we'll see how he does on Monday, and maybe by that stage you'll be looking at going for him instead. But yes, between Semenyo and Rodgers, in my opinion, even though Reinders might be the top pick for most people. Not looking great for both Villa and Newcastle. Not necessarily, but I was more impressed by Newcastle, especially in the first half, having 2 big chances and 8 shots at Villa Park, whilst Aston Villa did nothing in the first 45 minutes. Native Faith with 56 points and 5 players left, but is Wirtz or Frimpong worth a transfer? It depends. I mean, if you could stretch Wirtz out to Saka, I'd highly recommend that for Game Week 2 specifically. Longer term, maybe not so much. Frimpong to Gabriel looks great against Leeds, but maybe not beyond Game Week 2. So yeah, I think really good score, decent amount of players left. I'd probably keep those players for now, and I think Liverpool will win at St James's Park, even though they looked quite shaky yesterday. Coffee43 says predictions for tomorrow, Dylan. Okay, so yeah, I'll show you my predictions as well. I've been stuck on this screen for a while, but obviously people will like that, seeing the FDR for the next 8 game weeks. Let's also take a look at the predicted points. This will change inevitably by Friday when I go live for the next deadline stream. Salah is top once more with 7.3 expected points against Newcastle. Saka is narrowly behind, facing Leeds at home in a plum fixture. Haaland completes the top 3. Palmer, Gyökeres, Bruno Fernandes, Gabriel, Semenyo, Watkins, and Marmoush are in the top 10, despite the Egyptian being benched today and not getting any returns whatsoever. Next up will be the captaincy. So in the top 10k, Mohamed Salah is still number 1 with 69% of, not the vote, but of the captaincy. Haaland is second and Palmer third. Wirtz did flop, but only 1.9% of those in the top 10k captained the German. Bowen in 5th, also blanked, and Cody Gakpo thankfully scored. I was trying to reverse jinx Salah and Gakpo and all these players so much, and thankfully I got some returns from both of them after that Frimpong stinker and hooked. With FPL.team, looking at Game Week 2, without making any transfers, this is my team at the moment with Robert Sanchez in goal facing West Ham away, Frimpong, Salah and Wirtz with that trip to Newcastle, which is still quite tough in my opinion. Murillo against Crystal Palace away from home, and Pedro Porro facing Manchester City away. And I've also got Reinders as a little bit of a clash there. Palmer and Joao Pedro facing West Ham away as well. And Ndai with a home fixture this time against Brighton. And Ollie Watkins facing his former club Brentford. He's got a great record against them, so I do think Watkins will score there. And on my bench, I've got Dubravka facing Sunderland at home. I've got Reinildo in the same fixture, of course, on the other side. And I wouldn't actually mind starting him over Pedro Porro. And I've also got Konsa, who is suspended, and Mark Guiu. So things aren't looking particularly great, but I still think rolling the transfer would be my preference over rage transferring at the moment. Maybe after tomorrow, if things go horribly wrong for me, and after Monday, maybe I'll think twice about that. But for now, I think this would be my likely starting 11. And the other consideration for me is the free hit and tripling up on Arsenal with the likes of Gabriel, Saka, and Victor Gyökeres. The expected points is very low with 47.4 according to FPL.team. I'd highly recommend this website and any FPL website that enables you to check future game weeks and visualize them to compare chip strategies, transfers, you name it. So I did mention FPL Challenge earlier, and yes, I got 42 points in this game as well. Perry is yet to play against Everton at home, and I can still make transfers in that regard. The only flop so far has been Florian Wirtz, but he was my captain, so I did F up there. 8 Nuri with 16 points, Kudus with 18, Gyökeres and Joao Pedro up front. I don't see that changing. Maybe with a goalkeeper, I could go a bit safer and avoid the instant impact double points. So any summer signing will score times 2 points this week in FPL Challenge. So that's how I'm looking like at the moment. Merman with 46 points with Searles, Bruno and Palmer. I'm okay with that. Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, decent points. Only 3 players left, but they are very good players, especially in the case of Palmer. Brooklyn Joyce says 58 points with 4 left. Have Cucurella, Palmer, Murillo and Searles. I like that. Haaland was the right call, plus I've got Gyökeres tomorrow. In Gameweek 1, Paul. Yes, Haaland was the right call in Gameweek 1. He was the best captain. He was ranked second for me, but ultimately he was better than Salah. But that's only Gameweek 1. There's 37 left. Any news for Chelsea centre-back since Tosin is out? Well, Badiashile, I think, is in the mix. You've also got Hato who can play there and Chalobah. I would not be surprised to see a back four of one of James Augusto on the right-hand side, Cucurella on the left, and then Hato and Chalobah. I think that is probably the best defensive line Chelsea can build right now. Those having Haaland and Salah laughing, it depends. I mean, you do make sacrifices elsewhere. Maybe some people will go for Reinders to kind of facilitate that really expensive structure of Haaland and Salah, so that could really work as well. So many overreactions after one game week. FPL is truly back. Yes, and this is called a reaction stream, but I'm trying to temper expectations as best as I can, but it doesn't seem to be working. Salah definitely not 100% fit yet. Well, in pre-season he was quite poor, right? I said this before in all my coverage, in all these videos, and also in the deadline stream yesterday, but he still scored against Bournemouth. That's all I care about, even though you'd ideally want a bit more from a 14.5 million player. We should be grateful. Let me get that question back up. That Salah goal came out of nowhere to save the day. Yes, it would have been looking much bleaker for Salah captainers if he didn't do that at the very end. And he preserved his impeccable Gameweek 1 record for Liverpool. No blanks in the last 8 years in Gameweek 1 fixtures. So I'm going to go back to my FPL team for now. It doesn't look pretty, but at least some points are on the board. So Frimpong was a flop. The same goes for Ollie Watkins. But Gakpo and Salah did the job, and the same goes for Reinders, who was the outstanding player for me in Gameweek 1, and Borrell got a clean sheet, so it could be worse, but yeah, I'm still a bit gutted. I've got Renildo Mandava with a clean sheet on my bench. Cons obviously is suspended, and I think he's going to miss the next 2 games, if I'm not mistaken. Not 3, because it wasn't a reckless challenge or like foul play. It was a professional last man foul, so he should miss the next 2 games. And that is obviously far from ideal. Mr. T. Tendai says, Happy New Year season, my man. FPL better than Christmas, I reckon. West Ham crashed. Hold Bowen. Yeah, I still hold Bowen. He is quite fixture-proof, but it's definitely really alarming. I thought Bowen would score today, and I went without him, obviously, but that was kind of the main appeal of the Bowen pick. And West Ham are so inconsistent, and we saw last season how poor they were in between Tottenham and Man United in that Premier League table, but this time round, I think they'd be very happy if they were still in that sort of conversation with those 2 clubs, because I think those 2 will improve significantly, whilst West Ham could be left behind quite badly. But Happy New Year, or New Season to you. I think, at least in terms of the Western calendar, we've got a few months left until that happens. Eli says, got Diouf, Borro, Konsa, Estev and Murillo. Things not looking great for my defence in Gameweek 2. Yeah, same here. That's something that I really thought of, and it really hit home once I saw my Gameweek 2 team. Oh yeah, Porter's away to City. That's not looking great, but he did the business last year. I just don't see that happening this time round. 42 points of Palmer, Tarkovsky, Pedro, Sanchez, Murillo and Anderson to play. Bench boost. Decent score. The bench boost, obviously, I'm not sure who you've got, but yeah, I think it remains to be seen whether that's success or not. Obviously, you sold Richarlison and Kudus, so I understand your frustrations there. That would have turned it into a very good week for you, but Yeah, still a long way to go. You've got some good players left, especially in the case of Joao Pedro. I think, yeah, you got Palmer as well. That's good. You should be in a good place, and it should be a decent rank in the top 1 million by the end. Need Bruno to go big tomorrow? No, Joshua, I'm not going to lie. I really hope he doesn't, as an Arsenal fan. And obviously, yeah, I mean, Fernandes doing well. He is a quality FPL asset, and he's one of those players that I would have really considered if I dropped one of Salah or Palmer and gone for a more balanced structure. Would be super funny if Reinders was benched next week. It's possible. I actually said this to my friend. Like, don't be surprised if Cherki started against Tottenham and then Reinders is on the bench, but I think Reinders will start there. Proud Haaland captainer and Reinders owner. That is the dream after the late Saturday game between Wolves and Man City. 64 points with 5 to play, bench boost used. A lot of bench boosts in the house, and 64 points is a good score. You don't need me to tell you that. Reinders is half Indonesian. His young brother represented Indonesia. Yeah, he does look Asian, so yeah, that's not too surprising, and he's a quality player. We saw that with AC Milan last season. In UCL Fantasy, I talked about him. He scored at the Bernabeu, 10 goals in Serie A, 5 assists, and he's also got DEFCON potential, so I'm happy I started him. He was actually the player in my starting 11 I was quite unsure of, actually, once the deadline passed, but I'm very happy he produced that double-digit haul. I'm a bit gutted he didn't get bonus points, but I think the booking played a big part there. How long is Konsa out for? Should I transfer him out for Richards, as I plan to bring him in Gameweek 4? So don't quote me on this. I talked about it a few minutes ago, but I think it will be 2 matches, not 3. It was a red card, a straight one, but it wasn't for foul play, so it should be a 2-match ban, but maybe I'm an absolute mug. So let me know in the live chat if I'm correct or chatting absolute nonsense. So a lot of questions in the building. Keep them coming, and I will be going through all of them and having late dinner. I typically have late dinner anyway because of my heritage, but guess what? It's going to be even later today to facilitate this stream. I literally got home after watching the games and set everything up to go live. Cooker says no, Salah went right so far with Palmer and Gyökeres left. 250k. Yeah, great start for you. I did sarcastically tweet about Salah, you know, those that went without him playing a blinder. I was really hoping for Salah to score and basically reverse jinx and make myself look like a tool. But yeah, I still think you are correct. Those without Salah who got things right elsewhere with the captaincy and so on would obviously have done really well in Gameweek 1, but it is very early. Haaland captain has won this round? Yes, for sure. The ownership obviously is much lower, so I don't think it hurts too much. But yeah, those with Haaland, of course, will have a massive boost from it. Bowen has failed us. Us? We? Not we. I'm happy he blanked, to be honest, but I get that. He was one of my top picks for the captaincy, in 4th in my rankings. But he really disappointed, just like West Ham in general. Bada says people playing with more than one team is unfair. FPL should do something about it. Well, they do have it in the rules, and if they do identify anyone with more than one team, they do deal with it accordingly. I mean, I kind of manage my family members' team, and I also do my own one, but I've never had 2 teams. I should probably do it. In the Club World Cup, I had my thumbnail team, so, you know, in order to have the thumbnails and stuff, I had a team, and that did better than my original one, so maybe I'm a fraud. Rare Bowen Blank, yeah, he did really well at the end of last season. I think he returned in 5 consecutive games for sure, maybe even 8 or 7 out of the last 8. So blanking against Sunderland is surprising. I mean, keeping a clean sheet, that is quite worrying for West Ham. Hey Dylan, thoughts on Sunderland's chances against Burnley in Gameweek 2? Well, based on the Gameweek 1 performances, and of course they were against different teams and opponents, I think Sunderland have a chance here of getting a result, and I think Jacques is a great signing for them. So I'm not actually against starting Reynildo Mandava. I'm not suddenly saying, yeah, let's double or triple up on Sunderland in Gameweek 2. I'm definitely not going to say that. But if I don't free hit, I can see myself starting Reynildo over Pedro Porro. Wolves definitely should have scored today. Yeah, they should have. They were offside multiple times, especially through Menetzi. Strand Larsen had a big chance and he should have done better. I think City defensively are still quite vulnerable, and we saw that with Liverpool yesterday. But offensively, I still think those 2 teams offer more than Arsenal, for example. And I don't know what they're doing in the transfer market. They could easily sign Eze and a top quality left winger. I think they're only going to get one of those players, and it looks like Eze is going to Tottenham. Easy says, Frimpong and Kirke subbing out early is a mistake for Slot. Bournemouth scoring 2 after the substitutions. Yeah, so in hindsight, it does seem like that was the case. I mean, it looks like Liverpool really lost control, and it was a basketball match in the second half, and Bournemouth really took advantage of that kind of game state. But in the end, Liverpool got the job done. Chiesa as a super sub getting the winner, and Salah sealing the victory, and also saving our sanities in the case of those Salah captainers. West Ham, Burnley, Brentford to be relegated. Not necessarily. I think that's way too early to say. I still think Burnley, Leeds and Sunderland are the favourites to go down, but maybe now, in hindsight, it's Burnley to finish bottom and Sunderland could have a chance of staying up. Originally, I thought the kind of reverse, but Burnley have lost some key players like Trafford and Josh Brownhill, and I just don't really see too much quality in their squad. I have Jorginho Rutter. Should I bring in Reinders? I'd keep Jorginho Rutter for now. He played up front today, won a penalty, and he can also play as an attacking midfielder. Reinders plays Tottenham next week. He could play a deeper role, even if Gonzalez starts. But yeah, I think Tottenham will cause problems. And despite how good Reinders looked today, and I do recommend him as a 5.5 million option, I would keep Jorginho Rutter for sure. Hey Dylan, thoughts on Wirtz going forward? I still like him. I was very bullish on buying him in instead of Gakpo, but ultimately I looked at it for my own setup. Bodro and Gakpo, or Van de Ven and Wirtz, and I preferred the Bodro-Gakpo route. It has worked out so far, only just, but yeah, I still like Florian Wirtz, especially from Gameweek 4 onwards when they face arguably the worst team in the Premier League in Burnley. Yeah, I agree, Jimmy James, but it is called a reaction stream, so this is the time to kind of vent, talk about our initial thoughts, and maybe panic a little bit. Michael says, I lost my De Kuiper clean sheet in the last minute, a constant red card, and now Tosin is injured. Apparently, FPL is truly back. Yeah, that's very unfortunate. I've been very bullish about my kind of Tosin opinion, saying that I wouldn't really recommend him. I think he'll start in Game Week 1, but moving forwards, I just can't guarantee it. And yeah, the injury is unfortunate. I think otherwise you would have seen a start and potential clean sheet. And obviously the red card for Konsa. And yeah, the De Kuiper clean sheet wipeout was quite... yeah, well, very frustrating for those with De Kuiper and Verbruggen. Safair says, I benched Reinildo for Diouf last minute thinking his ceiling is higher. Should have trusted my initial gut feeling. I think a lot of us would have still backed West Ham to win. And Diouf has that sort of attacking potential, which Reinildo doesn't. But what I do like about Mandava is that he's got the DEFCON potential, which he showed in UCL Fantasy for Atletico Madrid. And yeah, it is a bit unfortunate. I also benched Reinildo. I'm kind of hoping somehow I've got like, I don't know, Ndai or Murillo on the bench, I guess. But yeah, ultimately, I just don't see anyone in my starting 11 not playing a single minute in Game Week 1. It depends what he's saying, because Van de Ven is very injury prone and Border will get more goal contributions. There's no doubt about it. And he's also on set pieces. In terms of DEFCON, I think they'll be quite similar, actually. So maybe short term, yes, I think Van de Ven can cover him, but long term, the answer is no for me. Raj House says, should I keep Bruno Guimaraes or switch for someone else on the 6.5? I still think Bruno is a decent FPL option, but I'd be quite tempted to move him on to the likes of Reinders. You've also got Kudus, obviously facing Man City in the same game, but yeah, I think with Bruno Guimaraes, I'd rather invest somewhere else there. Haaland needs bringing in straight away, Dylan. The problem with that sort of thinking is you probably need to sell Salah. And I don't recommend selling Salah to, I don't know, any midfielder. It could even be Cunha and someone quite enticing for Game Week 2 or 3. And then using those funds to upgrade Bow into Haaland. But that's a -4 already in Game Week 2. So from that perspective, I'd say no. If you can buy Haaland for free somehow, then okay, go ahead, enjoy the points. But otherwise, I just don't think that's really the play. I said this yesterday in the deadline stream, whether Salah does well or Haaland, and obviously they both did, but Haaland was the winner. Stick with what you have in the short term. Don't rage transfer people and take hits from the get-go. Very rarely does it pay off, in my opinion, especially after one game week worth of data and analysis. Maybe Wolves are amongst the worst teams in the league, and Man City have just beaten a very poor side instead of them being that good. I got 65 points and all players played. Great score. But yeah, no players left. So I do think a lot of people, or some people, could catch you up there. Could be worse. I bench boosted and have Esteve and Wan-Bissaka on there. Yeah, it could be worse. But Yeah, with the bench boost, I was quite bullish on it for Game Week 1, depending on the structures and stuff like that, but I never liked having Dubravka or Estev as part of that bench boost. Adam says top 400k, that's a good rank so far, obviously very early on, and hopefully you got some players left for tomorrow and Monday, otherwise, yeah, that might go down a little bit, but obviously that's still a decent position to be in. Gakpo worth holding on for the upcoming fixtures? I think yes, especially against Burnley away in Game Week 4. He scored against Arsenal a few months ago in that 2-2 draw. Man City are finished. Are you sure about that? I really hope you're true and you're right, but yeah, they look good today. Honestly, I might go double Sunderland on the free hit, Reinildo and Mayenda. Reinildo, yeah, good option. I would not recommend Mayenda personally. I think really the appeal of it is how bad Burnley are. Yeah, predictions for tomorrow. Okay, so yeah, let me go through that now. So, I'm not changing anything retrospectively. I'm not pulling a Houdini on you. This is what I went for as my final predictions. Originally, I said 3-1 Liverpool, so that would have been more accurate than my 3-0 in the end. I got it completely wrong with Villa Newcastle. I thought it'd be a high-scoring game, 3-2, and it was 0-0. Brighton 2, Fulham 2. I got the result correct, but not the scoreline. Sunderland 1, West Ham 2. Tottenham 2, Burnley 1. It was obviously 3-0 to Tottenham. And a 4-0 win for Man City, which obviously eclipses my 2-0 prediction. For tomorrow, I've said 1-0 Chelsea, 1-1 Brentford between Nottingham Forest, 2-2 Man United Arsenal. I hope I'm wrong and Arsenal can get a victory. And Leeds 1, Everton 1 on Monday night. So, yeah, we'll wait and see how that goes. But those are my predictions for Game Week 1. I did cover them in several videos and in yesterday's deadline stream. Joao Henrique says 56 points with Murillo and Sanchez left. Good score. Only 2 players left. And whilst I like those players, they're in my team after all. Yeah, you don't have Palmer and a few key options. So, yeah, it's going to be a tough ride for you on Sunday and Monday. But it should still be 60-plus points. Slot just had to take them off at 59 minutes to piss off the FPL backers. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, it's a fine line between big fortune, you know, getting that jammy clean sheet from Frimpong or Kirkes, and also that kind of disaster, getting 1 and 0 points from them respectively. Semenyo always thrives against big teams, but goes quite shallow in the easier games. I agree. That's a consideration as well for the free hit. Maybe Semenyo isn't as appealing in such fixtures as he is against Liverpool away. He has scored there in the past as well at Anfield, but scoring a brace was probably beyond all of our expectations. Watkins to Gyökeres or roll, and what to do with Vert's patience. Watkins has a great record against Brentford, his former club. I would not be selling him. I get the temptation to buy Gyökeres, and on the free hit, if I had to pick one of them, it would be the Swedish international, but I would not be selling Watkins in Game Week 2. As for Verts, yeah, patience is the recommendation at the moment, but he looked quite poor. And even in pre-season, I don't think his performances were particularly great. That's the way I saw it. And in terms of goals and assists, he didn't get too many. And one of the main reasons why I went for Gakpo, other than saving $1 million to get Pedro Porro for Van der Ven, was also to go for the more informed player throughout the summer. So let's go back to my FPL team. And yeah, only 42 points, just like my FPL challenge team, the exact same score. Is that a sign? Who knows? Safar says, am I the only one who hates the new app? Can't even see projected bonus points, minus points for cards, penalties, etc. My main concern about the app and the website is that I keep getting signed out. And yesterday there was this error. I don't know the exact error message. Someone did comment it on my deadline stream. And I checked it myself and he was correct. I had the same issue. So let me actually quickly see if I can get that up. Comments. So the error message. The request limit has been reached. So let me know in the live chat if you have experienced that issue. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of the new app and UI and the website in general. Watkins for Haaland. If you can afford that for free, be my guest. As much as I like Watkins, I think Haaland is a great option. Do you have 5 million in the bank though? Probably not. United have a nasty FDR first 5 weeks, but many players are taking Fernandes. Should that be because he will get pretty high DEFCON scores? I think with Fernandes, it's the combination of points. He has so many avenues with goals, assists, penalties, DEFCON. That is the main appeal of Bruno Fernandes, and I would recommend him over Cunha and Mbeumo right now. But Yeah, the thing is with United as well, even last season, as bad as they were, finishing 15th, they were pretty decent against the top teams. They beat Arsenal in the FA Cup. They also got a draw against them at home. They also got a result against Liverpool away from home. And they beat Man City at the Etihad. So, yeah, I think with Man United, they can also get results against the biggest and best clubs in the country. And Bruno Fernandes is a big game player at times. Is Rutter a hold? As I mentioned before, Linford, the answer is yes, he is a hold. SM Moy says on 20 points, everything that could go wrong went wrong. Absolutely devastated, only 5 players, and that's including the bench boost. Wait, so only 5 players have featured so far, or you only have 5 players left? Yeah, 20 points is obviously very gutting, but it is very early doors. Using the bench boost as well will it will compound the frustration and also the feelings you have at the moment. But ultimately, I'm not a therapist. I know people have said that before. This is like an FPL therapy session. But it is very early on. And even after a poor start in Game Week 1, you can bounce back immediately. I've had this sort of pattern of doing really well in the first 2 Game Weeks and then having an absolute stinker between Game Weeks 3 and 8. And that kind of ruins my season. So I'm looking to avoid that this time round. It's really early, so don't worry too much about it. 50 points left with Pedro, Sakin and Dye. Good players left. 50 points is good right now, but yeah, in terms of numbers, you might have a disadvantage there. Yeah, 53 points is good for sure, but it also depends on the amount of players you've got left. That is also very important. Agi says got 37, and Frimpong, Wirtz and Watkins let me down, but I'm going to hold them for now. Yeah, I think that's the right thing to do, especially with Watkins against Brentford. I think selling him would be a massive mistake. Safair says, I have 40 points. Is Rangers missing out on bonus points? Yes. And that is a great segue as well. I'm going to read out the bonus points now. Maybe it'll be better if I show it, actually. I'm going to go to the website and show everyone, just so it's easier to keep track of. So let's go now to FPL, and let's go through them one by one. So in the Liverpool-Bournemouth game, nothing has changed so far. So Semenyo with maximum bonus points after scoring a brace, Ekatikis with 2 bonus points, and Salah with 1, narrowly shading it ahead of Cody Gakpo. In the Aston Villa-Newcastle Bourfest, a 0-0 draw, Livramento has 3 bonus points, Pope has 2, and Dan Burn has 1. In the Brighton-Fulham 1-1 draw, Rodrigo Muniz got maximum bonus points after coming off the bench and scoring the equaliser. O'Reilly got 2 bonus points after that penalty scored, and Ayari got 1. He has been brilliant, by the way, in pre-season with multiple goals and assists, and he is rewarded here with the bonus point, and he was so close to getting DEFCON as well. Just a reminder, by the way, for those watching, so in order to get defensive contribution points, you need to get 12 defensive actions, so clearances, blocks, interceptions, and tackles, and you're capped at maximum of 2 points added to your score. So if, for example, Van Dijk got 24 DEFCON, he's not going to get 4 points, he's just going to get 2, but obviously he got 19 yesterday. In the Tottenham 3 Burnley 0 game, Richarlison got maximum bonus, Vicario got 2, and Kudus, one of my slight frustrations of the week, got 1. In the Sunderland 3 West Ham 0 game, Ballard got 3 bonus points. He got DEFCON, he scored a goal. I mean, that was an absolute... For those like kind of gloating the Haaland captaincy, those of Ballard, fair play. Anyone in the live chat, let me know, because that is incredible, even if it's your second account, but let's not expose you. Yeah, so Mayenda with 2 bonus points, and Roofs, the new goalkeeper for Sunderland, got 1 bonus point. And finally, in the Man City Wolves game, yes, Reinders narrowly misses out. Ain't Nuri gets 1, Rico Lewis gets 2, and Erling Haaland with maximum bonus points. I'm a bit frustrated about Reinders. Obviously, he got 10 points, so I can't complain. But yeah, I think that booking really cost him in terms of the bonus points. But there you go. Ultimately, I'm going to be positive and look at the bright side. I'm not the killers. But yeah, let's go back to my FPL team again. And that is a quick recap of the BPS for the Friday night game, the opener between Liverpool and Bournemouth, and obviously all the Saturday games so far. And we've got plenty in store on Sunday. Man United Arsenal. Yes, it might not be the same fixture as it once was, but it's still a great rivalry in Premier League history. And obviously Everton, Leeds United on Monday night. So right now we do have almost 400 people watching. I do appreciate the support. But let's get the likes up to over 200. It would be greatly appreciated. Subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And thank you very much. It is late in the UK, but a lot of you are still tuning in. Omega says, I got 49 points, but got Concert, but have Dorgu on the bench. Should I roll the transfer? As things stand, I would roll the transfer, but I would have some second thoughts about that. I'm not a big fan of starting Dorgu in Game Week 2. I mean, maybe. No, to be fair, I think I'm being harsh there. I don't think that's really worthy of a transfer per se. It is Fulham away. It's not the worst fixture in the world. Yeah, I'd keep things as they are for now, but it's definitely one to monitor. It's a possible transfer waiting to happen before the Game Week 2 deadline. I guess Chelsea will tackle Gay now. That's certainly possible, and Crystal Palace are quite open to selling him to get some value. But a few days ago, Parrish was basically saying he's going to be sold this summer, so he's not leaving for free. And then just a few days later, we got reports saying that he's going to stay and leave for free next summer. So we'll see what happens. Rangers that good. He had a great performance today. He was involved in everything. Even the first goal, he got the pre-assist, like pre-drinks and stuff like that. Well, but yeah, you're not going to get any points for pre-assist, but he obviously scored the second goal, assisted the third, and he had a very good performance all round. Batonga 9449 says, should I bench boost in Game Week 2 with Giu, Estev, Renilo, and Dubravka? My answer would be no. You've got 2 Burnley and 2 Sunderland there. Giu didn't even feature whatsoever, and Mayenda will start in Game Week 2, so my answer is going to be no, despite good fixtures for all of them, but they're facing each other. Andrew Barton says, Minter disallowed goal, then the Kuiper with Brighton last minute conceded. Watkins, Otter-Dross, thank God for Haaland. At least you've got a silver lining there, but yeah, very frustrating. Watkins is also my main gripe with, Game Week 1 in terms of my starting 11. If I bench boost and use one free transfer in Game Week 2, would it be a -4? Yes. The only way you cancel a -4 hit is if you free hit or wildcard. Salah, Palmer, King, Rangers, Kudus. That's an interesting midfield for sure. King, obviously, a 4-point family and midfielder for Fulham. No returns today, but it's definitely one to look at. He's the most exciting at that price bracket. Border happy on Sanchez now. If he's still inconsistent in the league, I would love to see Magnan joining to play the league and Sanchez for the Cups. Yeah, the thing is, though, I think Magnan is going to stay at AC Milan, so Chelsea were basically saying, okay, he's our main goalkeeper target, so we're just going to stick with Sanchez, but I just don't think that's enough to win a league, and Chelsea aren't too far off, I think, from competing for the title. Rangers is a baller, I agree, and no worries, Coffee. Hopefully you saw my predictions there. I don't think so, DJ. I think Rangers is a quality player. Bench one free transfer, Concert to Dorgu, then bench boost in Game Week 2 with Dubravka, Estev, Nico Williams, Borro, Strand Larsen. That isn't a bad bench boost. I actually like that. Obviously, you've got double Burnley, and based on what I saw today, I'd maybe fancy Sunderland for a victory there. But that obviously will require more research, and yeah, I'm going to have to watch more of the games as well and analyze what happened. But yeah, on paper, it looks like a solid bench boost. Is there a way to not miss out on price changes? Okay, so what I'm going to do now is quickly... Let's go to live FPL.net and let's go to prices. So apparently Rangers is going up in price tonight. So there you go. I'm going to put a link in the live chat. This is a great website for tracking price rules. Price falls and rises. I mixed the two words up, so I do apologize for it. But there you go. There's the link. Enjoy. There's also Fantasy Football Hub, which have a decent price prediction algorithm, but I think livefpl.net is even better. Green Extra Green says 25 of Kelleher, Murillo, Palmer, Caicedo, Saka, and Gay left. What do you think? Yeah, the score isn't great. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but you've got some really good players. Even Caicedo, with the DEFCON this season, will be a decent FPL asset. I think Palmer and Saka, that could easily get you to 40, 50 points through those two players alone. Kelleher hopefully plays for you. I think he will start, as covered in my predicted lineups and in the deadline stream yesterday. And yeah, the rest looks really good. I like Murillo. He's in my team, and I'm hoping he does very well tomorrow. Sea defense is shaky. A strong team will destroy it. Yeah, the defense is quite shaky. 8 Nuri is still a good FPL asset, but rotation will be an issue. I think the best options right now for Man City are Haaland and Reinders, to be honest. According to livefpl.net, Reinders is set to go up in price. Yes, Abby Johnson, thank you for that. I was a bit late to the party in terms of seeing it, but obviously you see it on screen now, so I do appreciate it. There's a lot of messages in the live chat, so maybe I need to speed things up. I've been a bit too chill. Time to zone in. Dryhill says, I have Van der Ven, Nico Williams, Van Dijk, Estev, and Diouf in defense. Who do I play in Gameweek 2? I would play Nico Williams, Estev, and Van Dijk. 59 points of Murillo and Sanchez left. Great score right now, but only 2 players left does leave some concerns, in my opinion, especially with no Palmer. Rick S says 38 points with Sanchez, Gabriel, Milenkovic, Tarkovsky, Fernandez, Palmer, Joao Pedro, my mum, my dad. That's a lot of players, so yeah, you should be doing really well tomorrow and on Monday. Streets Won't Forget says 41 points, Sells, Murillo, Palmer, Joao Pedro left to play. Okay, so you don't have many players left in terms of quantity, but you do have some really good assets like Palmer and Joao Pedro with a very high ceiling. So you're kind of hoping for the best there for Forest defensively and Chelsea going forward. So yeah, that could be 60, 70 points still. But yeah, only 4 players left is a slight concern. I still think you're fine. I hope I win my mini league this season. At least I should have gone for fixtures, not form. Yeah, it is a fine balancing act. And ultimately, I like to think myself as a more form person, but I do look at the fixtures a lot, especially at the beginning of the season. Hence why I went for Conser, and we all know how that turned out in Game Week 1. Bada says, I regret buying Wirtz. He looked soft for the Premier League physical style. Too much work ahead of him in that area. I still think he can acclimatise quickly, to be fair. And against Burnley away in Game Week 4, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he got like 10 plus points with a lot of goal contributions there. But I get that. At 8.5 million, I think he's underpriced, but maybe needs some time to acclimatise to the Premier League. I think by Game Week 4-5, he should be fine. West Ham looks so poor. Palmer captain seems right. Yeah, I'm quite happy about the triple up in Chelsea with Sanchez, Joao Pedro and Palmer. That could be one of the main problems if I free hit and then go for Arsenal and stuff like that and avoid Chelsea. That's why I think free hitting so early on or using any booster obviously can go really well for you. I'm not saying don't do it, but there is an element of risk because we don't have the data and information just yet. Lockroom Premier League says, I picked Gordon. He put up a high enough XG, had good shooting opportunities, and was through 1-on-1. It just didn't happen for me. Yeah, sometimes when you look at the stats and the performance, you know, you have encouraging signs for future game weeks. So people look at the result and they're like, he blanked. Get off my team. But that is a good long-term decision-making process to stick with that pick and then ultimately be rewarded. Anthony Gordon had a poor campaign last season compared to what he did the year before that, where he was a quality FPL asset. And I did say yesterday, if I had to pick one Newcastle player, it would be Anthony Gordon playing down the middle. Welcome, Beardy. Good to see you. And Wei Seng says, I might captain Palmer. Yeah, same here. If I don't free hit and captain Wan-Bissaka or Gyökeres, I think I'm going to go for Palmer, actually. Adrian4500 says, decent start, 44 points from just 4 players. All right. Joao Pedro. No. Pedro Porro, Watkins, Reinders, and Captain Haaland. That is really impressive. I mean, that is the best case scenario, I think, from the Saturday game, so fair play. Salah or Haaland captain for next week? It would be Haaland facing Tottenham at home. Do not discount Salah, though, facing Newcastle away. I still think he's got a great record against them, which Feremi does say that. But, yeah. In terms of the record, so Palmer did score against West Ham last season, but it was Jackson who stole the show in the away fixture, and that was quite early on in the season. So let's actually delve into this. I'll give you the exact stats now, because I don't want to just make something up if I don't know it. So, yeah, Salah obviously scored a brace last season at St James's Park. And Salah's record against Newcastle... Whoa, what the hell? Oh, okay, so in 17 games, he has 10 goals and 8 assists. And obviously, he played against them in the Carabao Cup final. They lost it. Salah played poorly. But even then, 18 games, he's got 18 goal contributions against the Toon Army. As for Cole Palmer, let's see if I can get this up quickly. his record against West Ham is 5 games played, 2 goals, no assists. But also bear in mind, I'm not counting fantasy assists. So maybe Palmer and Salah have had a shot, which has led to a goal, so it would count as an FPL assist, but it doesn't count as an official one according to Transfer Market. But those are the official stats for Palmer and Salah against their Game Week 2 opponents, West Ham and Newcastle, respectively. But yeah, Palmer captain might be the play. A lot of people are mentioning it. Game Week 2, Borro or Esteve? I'm going to say Esteve, even though last season Spurs won 4-0 against Man City and Borro got a big return. Should I start Esteve or Van de Ven? I'm going to say Esteve. Now, with Borro, that is definitely a debate, sorry. Water break needed. Yeah, with Borro, it's definitely a debate, and maybe I'm wrong about saying Esteve, but compared to Van de Ven, I just play the fixture, to be honest. Impulse captain Verts this week when I had it on Salah. I mean, yeah, you lost out on 6 points there. It is frustrating, but ultimately Salah was quite poor, and if Salah blanked in the end, you would have probably felt better about it, obviously, but yeah, I get your frustrations. Alex Andy says, hey Dylan, nice to see you again. Rangers ownership to skyrocket to 50% by Game Week 4 at this rate. What a baller. I think his ownership will be 25-30% in the next couple of weeks, especially if he returns against Tottenham. Josh says, I'm okay about Konsa getting a red because he will still came away with 3 points. Well, he outscored Frimpong, who's in my starting 11. The problem I have with Konsa being red carded is the future. I wanted to start him in some of these game weeks coming up, like Game Week 3. And now I need to look elsewhere. And with Pedro Porro facing City away this week, with Frimpong having Newcastle and Arsenal in the next 2, my defensive line suddenly doesn't look too great. Mossy D says, thoughts on Borro, Bruno and Watkins to Haaland, Dewsbury Hall and Van de Ven in Game Week 4. Okay, so fair enough. In a few weeks' time, that is definitely something worth entertaining. By that point, we could see Dewsbury Hall play a deeper position for Everton with the signing of Jack Grealish, so bear that in mind. But I do like Dewsbury Hall right now at 5 million. You are selling 3 quality assets, though. And yes, that's the thing. You're buying Haaland, who is a great captaincy choice, and I get it. But as a trio, I have to say I prefer Borro, Bruno and Watkins. Yeah, all good, Spidey. Hopefully you're doing well too. John says 56 points of Gyökeres, Palmer, Sanchez and Cucurella left. That's looking good. 38 points of Palmer, Pedro, Williams, Sanchez, Bruno pending. Yeah, okay score. Good players left. I think you're absolutely fine here. And we've got some really good scores here. So Dal Hario says 87 points. Even you've only got 3 players left, but who gives a crap, mate? You've got 87. You might even hit 100, which I very much doubt I will. So absolutely fair play there. Caesar Webb says 41 with 6 players left. Sells, Michael Keane, Nico Williams, Bruno, Palmer, Gerard Pedro. I actually like that. I think you're going to do really well in Game Week 1. Josh says, glad I went with Virgil, not Frimpong this week. Yeah, for me it's the opposite. In the Club World Cup, when someone came off at 59, they registered it as 60 and gave City players the clean sheet. That is true. But in FPL, that's never been the case. So yeah, Frimpong and Kirker's owners couldn't get the luck and the jammy clean sheet. Got Haaland in my team, but Captain Gyökeres, time will tell how bad that choice was. At least you've got Haaland, looking at the bright side. But yeah, Gyökeres was a consideration for me as a top 10 captaincy option, but I've always been very consistent saying, for me, Salah and Haaland are by far the best captaincy options in Game Week 1. Salah was slightly disappointing, but Haaland did the business, as he usually does. Brighton clean sheet mudded in the 96th minute. Water is wet. Yeah, I'm quite happy I avoided the Brighton players, even though Rutter was fairly decent. How many points should a bench boost yield to be considered successful? I mean, it was all relative. In a double game week, you're always looking at 20 plus points, I guess, but I think a decent bench boost is 15 plus, to be honest, especially in a single game week. Samrat says, I have Salah, Palmer, Reinders, Anderson in the midfield, Haaland, Watkins up front, Borro, Van de Ven, Nico Williams, Juff, goalkeeper Verbruggen. I like that. I've always said I don't like Verbruggen or Brighton defenders, and their fixtures are quite poor over the first 9 game weeks, and obviously Game Week 1 has already gone by for them. But the rest looks really good. I mean, Diouf is a possible concern there. I wouldn't want to start him against Chelsea, but apart from that, I do like what you've got there. Haaland touched the ball like 3 times in the whole match. Yeah, but Haaland's not a type of player you want really touching the ball. You just want him scoring the goals, being in the right place at the right time, scoring a tap in. He's clinical, maybe the best finish in the world right now, and yeah, one of the best strikers in Europe. So I really don't think that's a big concern. Even when he first joined, he had like 5 touches in one game and he scores a hat trick in the next. Who actually cares? If you want to win FPL, you need to get high points every game week. Well, yeah, you do. You might possibly get away with one bad game week, but it's really competitive. And yeah, with extra chips this season, I think maybe that's changed a little bit this campaign, and you can't really afford to have even one slip up or one poor showing. That's a good point. Crack says, or Crackadace with a K. Should I transfer Wirtz and Diouf to Semenyo and Kudus, Lewis, 8 Nuri Cucurella? Okay, so it's a duo thing. So Semenyo / Kudus and Lewis, or 8 Nuri Cucurella. Okay. That's a good question. I like that. I would keep Wirtz and just move Diouf potentially to another 4.5 million defender. Who is that? That is a tricky one because Van der Ven faces City. I wouldn't buy him this week. You're not going to go from Diouf to Wan-Bissaka. Ultimately, you just stick in that case. Concert is suspended. So your options are a blip. They're a bit limited. Tosin Adarabioyo is reportedly injured. Maybe Chris Richards or Gay if he stays at Crystal Palace. I think they're decent. So that's something I would bear in mind. Looks like the whole game only me owning Enzo. Well, that's not the case. I think his ownership is still around, 5%, if I'm not mistaken. I need to double check that. But yeah, I think Enzo is still not popular. A nice little differential, I'd say. So his ownership is 3.6. Yeah, that's pretty good. Nice differential. If it was Club World Cup Fantasy, he would have qualified for the scouting bonus. If Emery stops the loyalty BS and benches McGinn for Marlon, then Watkins will have a lot more service. Bit harsh, Goldhead. But no, I think, yeah, that is a good point. I mean, Marlon was linking up quite well with Watkins, and sometimes he played up front in pre-season. But yeah, I think it's actually more likely that Marlon leaves than becomes a regular starter for Aston Villa. Sell Esteve, bad pick forward. I just don't think Esteve will start regularly, but what I could see happening is him taking minutes and starts off Pedro Neto. Had a chat with some folks on the Haaland Salah team. If we sell all premium defenders, then you can make a really naughty team. Still early days, but I think it's on the cards. Yeah, obviously when you're starting a season, you're kind of having a feel for what's right. That's where an early wildcard could pay dividends if you get it spot on. But yeah, even those that are doing really well so far, they might end up having a stinker in Game Week 2 or 3. So I think it's too early to draw conclusions, but it's worth being open-minded at this stage. And then ultimately, once you get to Game Week 6 to 8, you want to start locking in your kind of perceptions of the best teams, assets, and also the best quality fixtures as a result. Yeah, Kudus doing really well, obviously with 10 points. I'm a bit gutted I didn't go for him, to be honest. People seem so blinkered with making out that you need the people who scored this week. Haaland and nobody else is essential. I agree. I mean, it's kind of typical in any reaction stream, let alone Game Week 1, for people to kind of say, oh yeah, this guy who scored or who got 10 plus points is essential. I don't think that's the case. Rahul says, Reinders rising in price tonight. I have Tielemans. I'm thinking of swapping him to Reinders. So I have 0.5 later for Fulkrug to Strand Larsen. That's pretty decent. It is a -4 though. Yeah, I mean, there is a bit of FOMO involved. If you make those transfers next week, well, yeah, you wouldn't be able to after a potential Rangers price rise. You'd be priced out a little bit, right? Yeah, you wouldn't be able to do Strand Larsen. I still think the best thing to do is wait, because what if you get an injury tomorrow or on Monday night, assuming you've got a Leeds or Everton player? Salah captainers are lucky. Bournemouth defence relaxing for that final goal. Yeah, but Bournemouth, I don't think it was a bad choice to captain Salah. In terms of the context of the game and how badly he was playing, and to get the goal that late on, yeah, that was lucky. But I don't think captaining Salah and getting points from him is fortunate, if you catch my drift. Christian says 55 points. Sanchez, Murillo, Nico Williams, Palmer, Joao Pedro left. I like that. Yeah, best free hit team for Game Week 2. I can try something quickly, but I would like to save that for a free hit team video. After the Sunday games are done, I can also analyze what's happened over the weekend in more detail. And ultimately, I would be looking to triple up on Arsenal. But the question is, what about the other 8 players? That's where things get very interesting. But yeah, I think the best thing to do is save it for a separate video. Salah is losing 0.2 this week? Surely not. Let me get this up on screen. So if I check the price falls, yeah, no. No one is close to a price fall yet, according to livefpl.net. But yeah, in terms of price rises, we've got Rangers as the only potential one. Yeah, I think people are maybe overreacting a little bit there, but at 5.5 million, he does seem to offer very nice value. Newbie here, used to UCL fantasy and playing, not knowing that you can switch players mid-match day. Hope to recover next week. Yeah, you can't do that in FPL. So in Euros, World Cup, and even the Club World Cup, UCL, you can make substitutions during a match day and change the captaincy. You can't do that in FPL. Gray says, it's my first time doing FPL. I've got 51 points with Pickford, Palmer, Indai, Pedro, Milenkovic, and Eze. That's a good score. I mean, that's your first time playing. That's a great start. You're outscoring me. Maybe you should have my YouTube channel, to be honest, but that's really good. And you've got some nice players there. Palmer. I like Pickford, even though he's a bit under the radar now. And my concern with Everton is the injury to Branthwaite for the next month. That's why I went off Tarkowski in my own team. But yeah, I do like what you've got, and good luck for the rest of the season. I can't wait for my Damsgaard hat-trick. I mean, Damsgaard is a good option from an assist perspective. He's not going to score too many goals, though, but hopefully he does well for you. Pedro versus Anderson versus Esteve. Who to bench? Is that Pedro Porro, I'm guessing? You're not going to bench Joao Pedro against West Ham. Surely not. I'm probably going to say Esteve at the moment, but if we get any inkling of him starting against West Ham, I'd highly recommend starting him, to be honest. So it's just really a minutes perspective sort of thing. At the moment, I'm not planning any changes. No, I would not recommend a wildcard now. I will be making a video because people love seeing wildcard videos in Game Week 2 and they might be looking to make wholesale changes. But if anything, I'd free hit in Game Week 2. That's about it. There's just not enough data. And beyond that, I'm not just a data-driven manager. I like looking at some numbers, but we don't have enough information in terms of the best teams and players. I mean, Man City looked incredible today. I said, in my opinion, they'll win the league, but it's too early to say that. Strand Larsen can't finish. Yeah, Wolves definitely should have scored a goal today. Interesting that Hoover and Doughty both started, so Hoover underrated at 4 million. Well, in my predicted lineup, I did have that, and I can show you now very quickly. Just so you know that I'm not chatting absolute nonsense, which I probably usually do. So this was my predicted lineup for Wolves. I think I got the left winger wrong, the left forward. Fair Lopez didn't start, but the rest was pretty much the same. And yeah, the kind of consensus amongst Wolves fans and also just my research was that Doughty would play as a right centre-back and Hoover would be the right wing-back. But a lot of Wolves fans don't rate Hoover. They don't think he's good enough and they think they need a new player in that position. Apart from Cunha, who is the obvious big miss there for Wolverhampton Wanderers, losing the 2 wing-backs in Nate Nuri and Semedo is definitely going to be very costly for them. And I think Wolves will be in a relegation battle this season. And a lot of the bookmakers and the odds do suggest that as well. What I'm going to do now is go back to my FPL team and go through some questions and see what else is here. But based on the kind of volume of messages, I mean, we might not even finish until midnight. So let's see what happens. But I do need to eat. I'm not a robot, despite popular belief. 55 points, Sanchez, Murillo, Nico Williams. Yeah, I did cover your question, or I highlighted your message there, Christian. I think that's looking good. Bench one of Reinders, Gakpo, or Adingra. I would bench... This might be unpopular. This is going to be very unpopular, I think. But I'm going to say Reinders at the moment. If Isak signs with Liverpool before the end of the month, what position would Ekitike play, either on the bench or playing in Gakpo's position? Yeah, I think also Liverpool could do this thing where Ekitike plays on the left and then Isak and him interchange, but I think the kind of first choice 11 will still be Gakpo, Salah and Isak if that transfer does go ahead, and Ekitike would get plenty of minutes and a few starts here and there, but obviously his game 10 would be significantly impacted by the arrival of Alexander Isak. So I think Liverpool can do several different things there, and sometimes they can play with both of them together as natural strikers. But I think the kind of most likely thing, in the big games anyway, would be Gakpo on the left and Isak up front. Free hit is definitely possible for me. I'm going to be open-minded about it, and a full decision should be made quite early in the week, I think. It's probably worth still looking at the Sunday games and what happens on Monday too. Bader says, I wouldn't be surprised if Leeds and Sunderland stay up and Wolves and Brentford get relegated. It's possible, but yeah, I think a lot of that is definitely influenced by the 3-0 win for Sunderland today. Before that, I don't think anyone gave them a chance. Yeah, that is true. Sefer Arias didn't start, which was quite surprising, actually. And at 5.5 million beyond Rangers, I was looking at Arias as a potential option. But yeah, thanks for correcting me there. It's quite surprising, actually, for those two to not start. Fer Lopez and Arias. I was very convinced about them. And, well, maybe I'll go through my predicted lineups and we can say what I got right and wrong. But I did say originally, from the get-go, I think Trafford's going to start. And a City fan said, he is never. There's no chance. You're wrong. Well, apparently not. At least I got that one right. Easy says, when the #1 ranked player yesterday, a lot of people were not satisfied, especially the first time playing for this player, and accused him of using multiple accounts. Well, a lot of people do that. It's not just for Game Week 1. It happens in any given game week where someone will triple captain Strauk, and then they score, get a clean sheet, and then, yeah, that's just something you'd never do if you got more than one functioning brain cell. Paul John says 52 points and 6 left. That is a great position to be in. You've also got some nice players there, even with the triple up in Arsenal. Metab says 36 with 6 to go. Bruno, Ndai, Kelleher, Palmer, Joao Pedro, Nico Williams. Switch Rangers to Ndai to afford Borro near the deadline. Do you think Rangers should be the transfer? I like Rangers a lot. I started the season with him for a reason. I don't think he should be a must-have or like, oh, I need to get him in now against Tottenham. I know Spurs can be shaky defensively. I think City will score goals there. But I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Rangers in Game Week 2. Just my kind of initial feeling, my gut reaction, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, not a bad score. You've got a lot of players left, which is also looking quite promising for you. And I think Palmer and Joao Pedro will do the business for you. At least one of them anyway. Yeah, triple captaining Ekitike. I mean, that's not as bad as triple captaining Ballard. Yes, 3 people have done that, by the way. Mark says, considering a wildcard drop Wirtz, Rodgers, Watkins, Potter, and Van der Ven. I don't think Watkins is a sell. I think he's a great option against Brentford away in Game Week 2. He was poor today, so were Aston Villa. Don't sell Ollie Watkins. That is my advice. Josh Zach 19 says, I have 44 points with Sanchez, Williams, Anderson, and Dye, Palmer, Saka, Pedro. Yeah, I think that's good. I like that. Sell Marmoush because of Pep Roulette. He could easily start against Tottenham, though. So, you know what it is with these Man City assets. Even Rangers, you can get some glory from them, big returns, you enjoy it. But you can also get some bench points and a lot of frustration there as well. But I actually think Marmoush could start against Tottenham. But long term, I've always said this, because of the kind of rotation factor, I would kind of avoid him. In my final predicted lineup for Man City, and whilst I got a few wrong there, I did have Marmoush on the bench with Doku and Cherki starting. And guess what? Cherki was also benched, but at least he scored with a short cameo. Annoyed that Rangers got 2 goals in pre-season. I've had him in every draft. Best player in Serie A for 5.5 was crazy. Yeah, I think the 2 goals was basically what brought him to a lot of people's attention and why I became very bullish on getting him. But he was in one of my early drafts. If you check out, I think, my update draft video, that contained Erling Haaland and Reinders, who was on my bench at the time. Thank God I didn't do that when it actually mattered. Stensanyo says, I have Marmoush, don't want to knee-jerk to Reinders, but can't afford another benching. I get that. It might be worth checking some of the Man City predicted lineups on websites like the Blue Moon Forum to see what they think, but I think Marmoush could start against Tottenham. Reinildo looking like a better pick than Esteve for a 4 million defender. Yeah, I don't take much solace. I don't take much, I don't know. The words are escaping me right now. Blame the alcohol, I guess. But yeah, I do. The words are escaping me, but I think it's not really something I'm proud of or happy because Reinildo's on my bench today. But it's something I'm quite optimistic about for Game Week 2. in that Sunderland-Burnley game. Yeah, the free hit will be very popular for Game Week 2. I will build a free hit team in a separate video, as I mentioned before. I don't think it's really worth going through right now too much. I have Diouf and Richards rotating. West Ham's defence is shocking, but Diouf is so attacking and had a shot cleared off the line today. Yeah, I think Diouf is still quite exciting, but if West Ham are going to be that bad defensively against a relegation candidate, it's not looking good for them whatsoever. Yeah, I agree. Marmoush only needs 20-30 minutes to score anyway, and he had most minutes just behind Haaland last season. I think Pep just wanted to give Bob and McAtee a chance versus a crappy Wolves. Yeah, I think Oscar Bob as well is someone else to look out for. I talked about him quite a lot last season in the summer, but obviously got that injury, which was a big frustration for Man City fans and Oscar Bob, but he's got a lot of potential as well. When should I sell Wirtz? Difficult to say. I mean, Arsenal at home in Game Week 3 doesn't look great, but then you've got Burnley away straight after. I'd keep him until Game Week 5. If he doesn't return by then, I think he is a sell. Triple captain Liverpool player against Burnley will be an option. So my original plan was to triple captain Salah against Sunderland at home. I might need to revisit that strategy. So I think when Haaland plays Burnley at home in the first half of the season, that could definitely be a shout. If not, when Salah plays them away in Game Week 4. Welcome, Zazie. Good to see you as well. Arias was nice when he came on. Immediate impact and a threat versus City. Yeah, I do like Arias. He's not going to score many goals, but he can also get the assists, and he's a very fun player to watch. He's very exciting. What do you think of Odegaard after Game Week 6? He should be more attacking, and of course, we haven't even seen them play yet, but food for thought. I'm expecting Odegaard to improve this season, but I'm not going to lie, I just don't see him reaching the heights of the 2022-23 campaign when he scored 15 Premier League goals from open play. I just don't see him doing that. And as an FPL option, I would gravitate towards Saka, Bruno Fernandes, Palmer. Salah goes without saying, obviously. And then you've got even cheaper options who might even rival him or outscore him. But he's one to monitor, keep in mind, but I think it's pretty much a wait and see. If he does the business tomorrow, then definitely he'll be of interest. But I think Odegaard is probably not one of the best in his price bracket. 53 points with 5 left to play. Sanchez, Murillo, Sarr, Saka and Gyökeres. I like that. 36 with Sells, Murillo, Tarkowski, Williams, Palmer, Bruno left. Yeah, the score isn't amazing. It's okay, average, but you've got some good players left. That's the good thing about it. I bought Semenyo in place of Wirtz already. What are some good options for next week? Wait, so you bought Semenyo for Game Week 2 or you had him from the beginning? I'm wondering about that, but yeah, I think buying Semenyo for Wirtz in Game Week 2, if you did that, is a bit too reactionary for my taste. I do think Wirtz will still outscore Semenyo over the next 3, but maybe that age is horribly wrong. I hate Marmite. Says 70 points, 5 left, back Haaland. Yeah, great score, and I don't know which players you've got left, but if Palmer's one of them, I'd be very confident. Rangers' price is not going up tonight. Yeah, so just for the record, I'm not saying he will go up in price tonight, but according to the website livefpl.net, it looks like he could go up in price, but we'll see what happens. Anmol says, great stream. Which free to start for Game Week 2? I would start Munoz, Williams. I think I'd start Anderson. I think Sunderland will score against Burnley there. Not sure about starting Dubravka and Estev or Van der Ven and Borro. To be honest, though, what I do here... I get it. It is still a consideration. Burnley can still get a clean sheet or win against Sunderland, but I'd start Borro. I'd start Borro with Estev. With Van der Ven, it's a debate, and maybe I'd gravitate towards Estev. But I think with Borro, with the amount of avenues to points, I think upon reflection... yeah, I'd go for Pedro Porro there. Dubravka or Sells, I'm still going to say Sells there. So yeah, that's been covered as well. Gyökeres hat-trick tomorrow, hopefully, even though I don't have him. First manager to get sacked. I think Potter could be the first one to go if West Ham doesn't improve. Well, there are rumours of the Leeds board not being entirely happy with Daniel Farke. I think it's the Red Bull group. So if Leeds don't get off to a good start, they've got some challenging fixtures. I think we could see Daniel Farke go first. I mean, Sunderland looking good after today, obviously. Scott Parker would be another shout. I'm going to say either Scott Parker or... yeah, or Daniel Farker. That would be my take on it. Lucas says, Richarlison got me 26 points. Fair play. Don't expect it too often, though, because Richarlison isn't exactly what I'd call a great FPL asset long term. Will Pep ever let Haaland get a hat-trick again? Well, hopefully not. As long as I don't own him, yeah, just avoid that shit. Come on. Who will score more points tomorrow, Saka or Palmer? Palmer for me. Do you think Forest will keep a clean sheet? I went for a 1-1 in that game, so the answer is no. Well, how many points will João Pedro get? Jesus. 3 questions in one, eh? I'm going to say 8 points for João Pedro. I mean, yeah, why not? 8 points. Easy says, there are no rules about having multiple teams. Also, who expects Ekatike to hit big? I think there should be, though. I think having multiple teams is a disadvantage, or it's a big advantage to those people. And it does cause an element of unfairness, so to speak. Should I transfer in Reinders for Anderson? Well, that was one of my debates in the deadline stream, and I made that transfer in the end. I do prefer Reinders, but I don't think it's worth transferring in for Game Week 2 against Tottenham. Thank you, Papa J. Shout out the Somalis, Dylan. Oh, shout out everyone. Malaysians, Colombians, Americans, you name it. People from all over the world. Singapore are tuning in, which I do appreciate. Maybe 3 FPL players, triple captain Pallard, are time traveling. I just think it's the second or third team and they're just trying to win or just do something really weird and they're like, oh, it actually paid off. Early wildcard, only have 29 points. I know City players. I get the temptation to wildcard. I will be making a video about that chip. I would rather free hit, though, in Game Week 2. Would you get Diouf out? He does have attacking potential, but I don't trust West Ham defensively, which is why I went without Wan-Bissaka, Areola. Obviously, Hermansen played anyway. And obviously, Diouf. I would probably look to sell him on. The problem is, at 4.5 million... yeah, it's just like, you've already got Van der Ven, and I wouldn't buy him in against Man City anyway. Michael Keane could be a decent short-term punt, but once Tarkovsky's back in, 4 to 5 weeks, maybe 6, he's going to be back in that starting 11. Chris Richards is good, but guess what? You've got him in your team, and I wouldn't go for Mark Gay and double up on Palace defensively. So maybe for now you keep, based on your situation. I mean, my favourite 4.5 was Konsa, and guess what? He's suspended. Yeah, I did cover the 36 points question or comment multiple times. Bench boost Game Week 1 paid off. Maybe for you, not for everyone, but yeah. Paul John says, I think Rice is massively underrated in FPL. He'll play as an 8 with Zubimendi as a 6. He takes corners and shares free kicks and now has a striker to assist. And he can also get DEFCON points. He was a defensive midfielder back in the day, and I think he will get DEFCON. Maybe not as often as Caicedo, but I think he will get it in a lot of matches this season. Who is on the verge of leaving current Premier League teams, making a video? I don't think I'll make a video on that, to be honest. I made a summer signings podcast, which is a bit different, obviously, but that is probably the most similar to that sort of video you're looking for. Yeah, I think for the next week, keep your eyes peeled for a team selection. That's definitely going to happen. A deadline stream on Friday, free hit squad, wildcard, transfer tips. Maybe, if people want to see a predicted lineups, and obviously so far not so bad, getting 11 out of 11 correct in some cases, 9 or 10 in others. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to make that sort of video, to be honest. Are we all sleeping on Man City's new brilliant number 10? Depends who you're talking about, mate. But yeah, Reinders is not a number 10, if you're referring to him. He's more of a box-to-box. He can play holding midfield as well. But yeah, I don't think he's being slept on. He could be the first player to go up in price tonight. Dio didn't even come off the bench today. Seems like he's the first choice striker. Yeah, ultimately I went for him as a 4-point family and forward. He should get game time. Will he get starts? Probably not, especially in Game Week 2. If anything, he'll get some starts later in the season. Hamza says 89 points I retire in my prime. Who says that's your prime, though? There are still 100 plus points to reach at some stage this season. Kevin says, afternoon, Dylan. We learnt a lot today. West Ham looks like a candidate for the drop. We have learnt some things, but I would be a bit careful about the learnings and lessons of what's happened on Friday night and today. because it's just too little data and information. It's one game for those clubs. We still have Arsenal and Man United tomorrow. We've got Crystal Palace, Chelsea, Forest, Brentford, and on Monday we've got Everton versus Leeds. I hate Papa J, says Zazie, a bit harsh. Anderson to Rangers before price drop. Depends on the rest of your squad. I mean, I like Anderson still. I'd probably say yes, but I don't think Rangers is a priority for Gameweek 2 specifically. That's just like a long-term pick. Salah versus West Ham is the one you want. His record versus them is delicious, and West Ham are in for a mega shite season. Well, West Ham had a bit of a mixed bag in terms of the friendlies. I didn't expect them to lose 3-0 today. I thought they'd win, but yeah, this scoreline is definitely surprising. Yeah, Salah against West Ham, Leeds, Burnley, Sunderland still. Haaland against those clubs too. They're definitely going to be considerations. Yeah, Fulkrug, very disappointing today. He was poor. Sunderland was the main appeal. Someone mentioned having Fulkrug on their bench boost. And I was actually, I liked the look of their bench boost, and I thought Fulkrug was a great option. But yeah, after today, I'd be very concerned about that. Prediction on the changing of price of Rangers. The website is called livefpl.net, so I just put the link again. Do you think Guia's price will drop below 4.5? It could happen over time, especially if he doesn't start again in Gameweek 2 or doesn't even come on at all. But yeah, I'd wait a little bit, to be honest. I wouldn't be selling him just because he might go down. Missed the deadline on an auto-pick squad. Should I activate my first wildcard since AFCON transfers are sorted? It depends how bad it is. Sometimes auto-pick can actually outscore your proper choices, so to speak. Anywhere we can see Gameweek 2 transfers made so far? I mean, you can see it on the FPL website. If you go to the transfer section and sort it out by transfers in, you can see it that way. There is also this website, FF Stuff, which allows you to see it. So I'll probably do that now. So, oh, wrong one. Let's get this up and show you. So FF Stuff, transfers in. So yeah, the most transferred in player is Ekatike. Rangers, oh no, that's changed. Rangers is top, Ekatike second, and Semenyo is third. So let's change that a little bit as well. So there you go. On the cuff, you asked and I delivered. The website is ffstuff.co.uk. Gyökeres is in the top 4 without even kicking a ball. Hopefully he scores a few goals tomorrow. Most transfers out. Oh, wrong one. So yeah, Isak, I mean, who started the season with him? Gavardio, Wirtz, Frimpong, Konsa. 2 of them are on my team. Not looking good, bruv. Not looking good, but there you go. Okay, so back to my squad again. Probably one final time. I don't like the look of it. We do have a super chat in the building. So thank you to Dylan. And it's not myself in a burner account. It's Dylan BFC. He says, just want to say you're a great FPL creator. I hope your channel grows. You deserve it. Looking forward for your tips for FPL and Champions League. That's very kind of you, mate. Thank you very much for the support. And I promise that is not a burner account and me just promoting myself. I would never do that, right? But very much appreciate. I have to say that. I hope to see you in the UCL Fantasy streams. There will be one, of course, for Match Day 1 in around a month's time. And we do get the fixtures in 12 days. Of course, for the Champions League draw. So thank you very much. Thank you, Jimmy, as well. Love your content, Dylan. You are one of the FPL careers I really enjoy watching. Keep it up, mate. GG's. Thank you. Obviously, some people call me a robot. Others, like yourself, are actually kind people, so to speak. So thank you, Jimmy. And hopefully I can deliver throughout the season in FPL and UCL Fantasy. In fact, I will do it. So stay tuned. And yeah, you'll be informed and entertained. That's for sure. Is Rangers going to be another Gundogan? Well, that was the kind of narrative in pre-season after he scored a brace against Palermo. I think, maybe not to the same level, but I think he will be a solid choice at 5.5. He is underpriced, it seems, but early days, of course. Nigel says, Hola from Mexico. 75 on bench boost with Palmer, Pedro, Tosin, Sells, Anderson, and Goodmanson left. Okay, so I don't want to burst your bubble, but some rumours are flying around that Tosin Adarabioyo is injured and he won't play tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, I can cover that in the deadline stream on Friday. But yeah, you can still get 100 points, even if that turns out to be the case. Yeah, good luck. I mean, you're in a great position right now. The bench boost is working wonders for you. Oh yeah, you mentioned Tosin anyway, actually. I didn't read the last part because I like to jump into things. Will Burnley break the Derby County points record? We said this about Southampton last season, and they managed to save themselves that sort of embarrassment. Difficult to say. I mean, with Burnley, it's possible that they get fewer points than Derby. I'm going to say they get more at the moment. Watkins to Ekitike? No, don't sell Watkins. I'm going to be very bullish on that. If you take anything from the stream, do not sell Ollie Watkins in Game Week 2. NH1999 says Moyes wins West Ham a European trophy, and that's not good enough for them. Serves them right. Well, David Moyes, let's not forget that season they were really struggling, especially the one before. Yeah, the season before that they were really... Actually, wait, hold up a second. Because I'm getting the seasons confused. No, it was that campaign. They were in a relegation battle. And with the Conference League, I think any Premier League club who's in it, like Chelsea last year and West Ham a few years before, they have a massive advantage, and ultimately they should be the favourites to win it. But look, West Ham winning any European trophy, it's a big achievement, and David Moyes is a decent manager. We saw what he did with Everton over the years, and yeah, he deserved more respect, that's for sure. But there's always two sides to a story, and I think a lot of West Ham fans would have had some logic and arguments for wanting a change, especially stylistically, because it's not pretty to watch under David Moyes, especially at West Ham. Opinions on Palmer captain? For Game Week 1, I think he is one of the best options. He is third in my list, but I was quite convinced about Salah and Haaland being significantly better. Now, for my sake, I'm hoping Palmer does well, even though in terms of EO, that might not be the best for me, actually, so I need to double check. But yeah, I think Palmer is a solid choice. When you look at the next couple of weeks for the captaincy, West Ham does stand out in Game Week 2, but beyond it against Fulham, I think that could be quite a tough game for Chelsea. I think they'll win the game, but it might be low scoring in the end. Watkins to Ekitike this week, or wait until the week after and see Gyökeres to Ekitike? I'd wait. Just keep Watkins is my advice. Philippe Marcoux, or Macquarie, says 38 points, bench boost played, Palmer captain, Saka, Joao Pedro, Mateta, Tarkowski, Nico Williams, Munoz, Goodmanson, Sells left. Yeah, looks good. I mean, you've got a lot of players left. Palmer captain could definitely be the game changer. I do like that. For draft mode, would you take the trade Semenyo for Gakpo? That's a difficult one. I prefer Semenyo, but as we discussed before, rightfully pointed out by some viewers, Semenyo seems to have this thing of doing really well against the big teams, and against the so-called weaker opposition, he just fails to deliver. But it would be Semenyo for me. Thought Larson looked pretty good, and Wolves looks like they're going to play attacking football. I am concerned about them defensively, though. They were quite easy to split open, even though Man City are a top team, and my favourites to win the league. But yeah, I think the kind of most exciting player from Wolves would be Arias at 5.5 million right now. Verts worth striking. What worth striking? With or sticking with? Yeah, I think so, especially with that Burnley away fixture. But obviously Newcastle and Arsenal isn't great on paper. Got 42 points with Joao Pedro, Wood, Chalobah, Murillo, Palmer and Sells. I like that as well. The score isn't ideal. I'm also a bit gutted about it, but yeah, you've got some really enticing players left tomorrow. So yeah, we've got a few super chats in the building. I do appreciate it. So let me make sure I catch up. Oh god. What is happening here? So first up is... I think it's just one super chat, but yeah, my chat is bugging out. So thank you, Rabbi. Amazing content creator and very generous super chat there. I appreciate it, and hopefully I can see you on board for future FPL and UCL fantasy streams. If you haven't played the Champions League before, I'd highly recommend it. I think if you played the Club World Cup, Euros, World Cup, I think you'll get used to it in no time, and it's a really fun game as well. Thank you, Adam, as well. Should I swap in Reinders for Anderson? As I said before, the answer would be yes, but I don't think Reinders is a must-have for Tottenham at home. I just don't feel that way. James Watson says, great work, Dylan. Yours is one of my favorite channels on fantasy football. I very much appreciate that, and hopefully the same can be said by the end of the season. And you're not calling me a fraud with pitchforks and saying you got me into my worst rank ever, or whatever the hell you want to say. Fun fact, Watkins has never scored in Gameweek 1 in his entire career. Wow, that's a great stat. That is a fantastic pull. As opposed to Salah, who has never blanked in Gameweek 1 throughout his Liverpool career, Watkins has never scored. I think he's going to do well against Brentford, though. Had a terrible week. 6 players played, only 33 points. Salah captain with Bruno, Palmer, Ndiaye, William Sanchez to play. I think that will turn into a decent week for you, Lucas. You've got Bruno and Palmer, yeah, 2 of the best midfielders in the game. I think Sanchez is arguably a top 4 goalkeeper in FPL, and I think the other 2 are still decent. Marmoush didn't start for me. Is it worth taking a hit to change him out? Who would you sell him to, though? I think Marmoush could start against Tottenham. That is my initial gut feeling. This is obviously a reaction stream. Maybe I'll feel differently when I make a predicted lineups podcast if you want to see that. But I think Marmoush will start, and if that's the case, you'd want to keep him for at least 1 more week. That lesson for next season, Gameweek 1 for Watkins. Yeah, I think that could definitely be a good shout. I was also considering going for Gyökeres and then Rodgers, but ultimately Rodgers blanked anyway, and we'll see what Gyökeres does tomorrow. Yeah, Richarlison is one to keep an eye on, but I still think Solanke will be the first choice striker for Spurs, and you've also got, well, at that price, maybe not so much and below, but I'd rather go for 7.5 million forwards like Joao Pedro, Vissa if he goes to Newcastle, and Mateta. I guess Krippy Jr. is the only 4.5 million alternative to Guiu, but he only got 1 point off the bench. Well, 1 point is better than none, but that is obviously a good point, and hopefully Mark Guiu can get some minutes and opportunities in the future. Yeah, I think Semenyo is definitely worth keeping. I also prefer him over Gakpo, for Gameweek 2 anyway. I still think Sarr is better than Reinders, especially for the first or next 5-10 weeks. Yeah, I think you're not wrong there necessarily, but let's not forget Sarr is also 1 million more expensive. I mean, some people might even have both of them, or a 6.5 million midfielder like Kudus / Ndiaye and Reinders like myself. But yeah, I do like Sarr. Cracked A says, can you give us a list of free tools that you use? Okay, that's fair enough. What I'll also do, I think, is give links. Okay, so the first one, it is a paid subscription to get all the tools, but I think you do have access in terms of the FDR, the fixture difficulty rating, for the first 4 game weeks or the next 4 game weeks. So this will be Fantasy Football Hub, and I think you can also check their predicted points algorithm. It will show you some of the players, not all of them, I think. So the first few is, what is it, for the fixtures, it will show you the next 4 game weeks for free. If you want to toggle it and see the next 6, 8, or 10, that's where you need to have a paid subscription. The next one is livefpl.net, which is very useful for price predictions. So I've put the link in the live chat as well. There is also this website, which I use. So I'm just going to send you this part. But essentially, the website is FF Stuff. So I'm going to put a link in the live chat too. So that's where you can see this on screen. The top 10k captains and Salah is top. I've put the link in the description just now. And this is one of my favorite ones in terms of visualizing future weeks. Live FPL. Oh, sorry. Well, you can use that as well, actually, to visualize future weeks. Livefpl.net, but also fpl.team. So I'm going to put the link here. And there you go. Enjoy the links. I think they're all very useful. I also used DraftHound in the past. And yeah, they were also another very good website to use. So you can also check that out too. I'm not sure if they've updated it for this season though. That's the problem. But yeah, they were a very good tool over the past couple of years, and I've talked about them on my channel. And yeah, that's pretty much the main ones I use. I also do my own research. I watch the games. I also watch highlights if possible. If I can't catch a full game, I'll do that. Match of the day, I'll be watching the repetition very soon. And I also check different websites like SofaScore and stuff like that to see preseason form and, you know, different bits and bobs. So that would be another one. You can keep track of lineups that way, previous results between certain teams, and also the odds a little bit. Speaking of odds, actually, that is another website that could be very useful to you. So let's go to this one. And let's go to... So yeah, for this, I think, yeah, this is the website. I'll just give you the overall website. This is called fantasyfootballpundit.com, which I've referred to heavily in my UCL Fantasy and Club World Cup content. So this is another website that I use. So there you go. I've given the almost full set, I believe. So hopefully you find some value in it. And yeah, thank you, Safair. Free hit Gameweek 2 or Verts out to Semenyo. I don't know your team, Eman. That would help a lot in terms of deciding what is best for your squad. On the face of it, I'd say free hit 2, but I don't know your squad. Oh, Pape Sarr. Okay, fair enough. I don't think so. I think Rangers is better. Maybe. We'll find out next week, right? Vert's heading for a price drop. I don't think that'll be the case. I thought Bowen. Fuck those experts. I like Bowen. He was quite highly ranked in my team. I never claimed to be an expert, just to be very clear on that. But I didn't go for him. And I didn't say he's a must-have or anything. I did rank the likes of Watkins, Joao Pedro, Haaland higher as a kind of starter pick for the first 6 game weeks, because West Ham's short-term fixtures aren't great, and for them to lose against Sunderland that way is very concerning, obviously, as we all know. So yeah, I'm going to go back to FPL.team, which is one of my favorite websites. Let's build a quick free hit squad. It's rough. It's going to be rough. And yeah, it's already late in the UK. It's 10:30. I'm doing intermittent fasting, basically, because I haven't eaten anything proper for like 10 hours. I'm not looking for sympathy, by the way. I'm just saying. I don't know why. What are you doing, Dylan? So, in terms of the free hit, let's do this, actually. Okay. In goal, fuck knows. But let's stick with what I know, which is the Arsenal players. I would go for Victor Gyökeres. As much as I like Watkins, I might drop him. But for now, let's get rid of Mark Guiu. I still like Salah a lot against Newcastle away, but for the sake of the budget, I'm going to drop him to Bukayo Saka. Frimpong to Gabriel is also working fairly well at this point in time. And we can do something like this. Okay, so this is not looking too bad so far. Bomba, 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 clat. Bomba, bomba. Yeah. So yeah, this is where things get very interesting. And by the way, there are still 400 people watching, I think. Let's get the likes up to 200. It would be greatly appreciated. This is the first reaction stream of the season. The plan is to do one for every single deadline. Sometimes we get 2 or 3 deadlines in a week. So imagine that. But yeah, still, you'll get plenty of content in terms of live streams and videos for UCL Fantasy and FPL. Keep your eyes peeled for it. Share the streams, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check the links and join the Discord server. It is a great community to be a part of. And if you want to support the channel even further, become a patron or a channel member to gain early access to my videos and also priority reply to comments in the live streams and, of course, the videos as well. So, yeah, this is where things are going to get very naughty, and I'm not sure if I can even build one. So I think it's best left for another video. This is going to be extremely rough. So far, not so bad, but still a lot of work to be done. I think a Sunderland player isn't too shabby, so I think Reinildo Mandava could stay here. So yeah, I'm going to keep him on the bench for now. I would get rid of Porro, and I would consider Mark Cucurella. Yeah, I would consider him. Petrovic is someone I talked about a few weeks ago for a potential Gameweek 2 team and maybe doubling or tripling up on Bournemouth. The thing is with Semenyo, like, he is such a troll, but let's entertain this thought and let's put Semenyo in this team. So yeah, I do like this midfield. I think Gakpo would make way. Maybe that's a mistake, to be fair. I think one Liverpool player is still a recommendation. I'm 0.5 million off in terms of the budget. So Rangers could become Dewsbury Hall, I guess, or Pape Mate Sarr. It really doesn't matter. They're going to sit on the bench. So let's do that. Konsa can definitely get going because, yeah, we know he's suspended. So 4.5 defender. And we've also got Borro. I don't mind Murillo, by the way. I think he's a decent choice. Okay, you know what I'm going to do here? Let's go for Daniel Munoz. I don't mind him against Forest. And I'm doing the memes now. I don't know what I'm doing. Don't go anywhere. This is tough. This is quite tough. I think these are the last parts of the team that need a bit of ironing out. I think Wolves could score against Bournemouth. So I'm not too sure about Petrovic or Troffer. They're not terrible picks, but maybe not completely ideal. Okay, so this might be a bit controversial. And remember, this is a very rough draft. I'm considering Murillo, and you're kind of hoping there for like a 0-0 between Palace and Forest, which is possible. It's happened a few years ago. I actually had, from that game, I think I had the Palace goalkeeper in Turner at the time, and I had a Forest defender, something like that. So, yeah, never say never, right? This is my current setup. Captain, I'd say Saka. Palmer Vice, that looks pretty good. Konsa, okay, let's see. Who can we get maybe for 4 million? Or, what I'm also considering here is Sells in goal, Murillo to Cucurella, and then Konsa to Esteve, because they're going to be on the bench anyway. So then that is something else I'm looking at. So yeah, Cucurella in, and let's put Matt Sells in goal. Or we go for Petrovic, potentially. Yeah, that's not a bad team. Even, yeah, Pickford's a bit out of reach, of course, 0.5 million off. But let me know what you think of this rough free hit team. Gakpo is obviously a little bit debatable. Maybe downgrading him can fund other moves as well. But yeah, it's not terrible, in my opinion. It could be worse. I actually like some Man United players against Fulham. Maybe like Cunha or Bruno Fernandes or Mbumo. So that is also something else worth monitoring. So let's see if I can get Fernandes in here. So I'm 1.5 million off. Maybe here I'll do Cucurella to Nico Williams. Then I'll do Sells back to Sanchez. Or I go to Petrovic. Okay, let's do that. This is a rough team. Let me know what you think. I actually like the look of it. It's making me want a free hit now. 59.4 expected points. I'll be honest, I wasn't keeping track of how the expected points was changing with each kind of change I was making there. But there you go. Signed, sealed, delivered, I guess. I like it. 3-4-3. You've got some bench options here. Maybe you put Dewsbury Hall a bit higher. You put Esteve last. Who knows? Who actually knows? Not me. So yeah, let's change this. This will be called free hit. And yeah, we got that locked and loaded. I'll be talking about this very soon. Bench boost, no. I will not be bench boosting, even though that's not terrible. In the live chat, what do you think? Let's see your thoughts. I will be wrapping up soon. I'm going to eat some pizza after. It's going to be ice cold, but who cares? I mean, not me. I'm going to keep that on for a little bit longer and just go to your comments. Like I said, drop a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you very much. AXX Zaza says, FF stuff is confusing. It's got different categories. I actually think it's a pretty concise website. I do like the look of it, and it's got some very good graphics, and it keeps track of a lot of transfer activity and stuff like that. Live FPL is a must. It's one of my favorite websites. The same goes for FPL.team. Saka, Gabriel, Gyökeres free hit. Yeah, I think that would be the template Arsenal trio, but there's a good reason for it. Thank you very much, and yeah, it could be my final free hit squad that I talk about very soon, but hopefully I have a surprise in store and something a little bit different. Richard Sinclair says, should I keep Marlon? Already got Reinders. Yeah, so he was in my latest draft video, or final draft video actually. And I did say even then, the minutes are going to be a huge concern. And there's even a chance he leaves the club, to be quite honest with you. I would probably look to go off him. You've already got Reinders, which is obviously a big plus for you. I like Elliot Anderson, Caicedo. There are other 5.5, maybe even 5 million midfielders to keep track of, like Dewsbury Hall. But I think for now you probably keep. And I think in a couple of weeks' time you sell. So maybe by Gameweek 3, for example, if he doesn't start again, you can make 2 free transfers and Marlon could be part of it. How different is UCL Fantasy? Well, if you have played the Euros World Cup or the Club World Cup, it's got that sort of structure where you can make substitutions during a match day. You can captain a player who plays on the Friday. So, for example, Liverpool-Bournemouth, you can captain Salah. If you're not happy with his return, then you can captain Haaland today. If you're really greedy and you want to captain Palmer tomorrow, you can do it. But obviously, you lose the double points from the captaincy from previous days. But there's also a limitless chip, so that means it's like a free hit. For one game week, you can build a team, but with no budget restriction, so you can pick anyone you want. In FPL terms, you could have Palmer, Salah, Haaland, Saka, Bruno Fernandes, and just enjoy all the points there as well. Thank you as well, Sanas. I appreciate the kind words. And yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. Sefer says, target Burnley, Leeds, and West Ham. It looks like it. I'd still put Sunderland in that category, but obviously they look great today. I don't want to burst their bubbles. They had a great performance against West Ham. What about Gordon? Yeah, he could definitely return. Against big clubs, he also has this tendency to win penalties and be involved. I like Gordon. As a Newcastle asset, he's probably my favourite at the moment, and he's playing down the middle. Possibly. I mean, Tottenham, yeah, I think Haaland will score, but I don't see a ceiling being that high. My initial, whatever you want to call it, prediction is for Haaland to score 1 goal, maybe get a bonus point or 2, but I don't think he gets double digits against Tottenham. Chris Howarth says, switch last minute to a Haaland draft from a non-Salah Haaland team. 26 from Haaland captain, doing a lot of heavy lifting in my side right now. Hope I've not used up all my luck. I mean, switching last minute, I don't think it's that lucky though, to be honest. I think that's just a good decision, great outcome. It's still early days, but Erling Haaland is always one of the best FPL options. Oh, is that website no longer a thing? Oh yeah, it isn't. I used to use that all the time for price predictions. That's a shame. That is a shame. Thank you, Sky. It is obviously maybe subject to change, and there will be a free hit video where I explain every pick and maybe I have 1 or 2 changes, and maybe I can find something a little bit better. I 100% would add Cucurella. Yeah, but I've got, well, I don't have Sanchez in goal now, but the problem here is, how do we stretch him? Maybe Nico Williams to Cucurella, but then I need to downgrade somebody else by 1 million. Maybe Fernandes to Mbeumo or Cunha. So, for those watching, let's actually do this. So let me know in the live chat. It's basically a duo question, and it's really early on to do these kind of polls or questions, but do you prefer... Definitely not this. Oh, it's the same one. I'm an idiot. Okay, so do you prefer this team or Nico Williams out for Cucurella and then Bruno Fernandes downgraded, if you will, to one of Mateus Cunha or Mbeumo? Let me know in the live chat. Last season, Cunha got 16 points at Craven Cottage, so maybe you can do that once more in Game Week 2. So yeah, the expected points here is slightly lower at 59.0. And if we look at FPL.team here, 59.4. So there's not really much in it. I mean, it's identical. It's just a little change here and there. But obviously here we've got no Forest defensive coverage. And ideally, I would go for a Sanchez or Sells goal. But obviously, you are limited to 3 players per club. So yeah, let me know in the live chat what you think. Is Haaland back? Well, he still scored 22 goals last season in 31 games. So it's not like he was a bum. He just didn't reach his high standards, I guess. Rank Sunderland FPL assets. I think Reinildo Mandava is still my favourite at 4 million. He can get DEFCON points, so defensive contributions, clean sheets if they can keep more like today. And at 4 million, he's just a nice option for your 50-man squad, to be fair. Yeah, I think Bowen could score. Yeah, he could. but I think Chelsea will win quite comprehensively like they did last season. I was just looking for that site as well. Is that FPL statistics? Yeah, it's a shame. I do like that one. This game needs luck? Yes. But we said this as well. We had this conversation a few months ago for the Club World Cup. You also need luck for the Club World Cup and all this bloody crap. So that's just how fantasy games are. What app to check rank without signing in and free to access? LiveFPL.net. You can sign in to access more features and, you know, save your drafts and visualize future game weeks, if you will, and keep your progress. But you don't actually need to sign in. So that's the website, livefpl.net. I think with FPL.team, you don't need to sign in anyway or sign up. But by doing so, you can save your teams. And you don't have to keep, you know, going on the website and then building the team from scratch. So I do recommend logging in if you can. But yeah, I think with FPL.team, you can just type in your FPL ID. That's the only thing you would probably need. Hey Dylan, good to see you. Would you consider starting any of the Sunderland players? Yeah, I've only got Renildo Mandava and I'm looking to start him over Pedro Porro. I think a clean sheet is possible there. Jose the Special Mo says 35 points at the moment and to play I've got Sanchez, Murillo, Anderson, Palmer, Bruno Fernandes. My big mistake is taking Van Dijk instead of 8 Nuri. Yeah, but Van Dijk got DEFCON. 4 points isn't too shabby. I got 1 from Frimpong and others got 0 from Kirkes. Anderson instead of Reinders and different striker than Larson. Yeah, but at 6.5 and below, I mean, I still think Strand Larson is one of the better ones. I get the Reinders Anderson frustration. Anderson is still one of the best ones at that price, though. I don't think there are bad decisions, maybe just bad outcomes at the moment. Nicely balanced team. Plus, the FF Stuff website is now called Not Only FPL. Oh, is that right? Because when I went on it, it's still called FF Stuff. Maybe you're right, but yeah, I'm going to double check that then. So, let's go for a few more comments. And yeah, I'm going to wrap up because it's almost 11 p.m. in the UK. My stomach is, yeah, it's rumbling. So yeah, if you haven't already liked the video, let's get to 200. And we still have 300 people watching. So yeah, the people are still craving FPL, even if they're doing badly so far in this new season. Adam Fine says, sell Salah to Saka, get him back in Gameweek 4, or get both Ekitike and Wirtz. I do prefer Saka for Gameweek 2 specifically, I won't deny that, but I don't think it's worth selling Salah right now. Need Haaland in there? I'll have a look at that. What I'll probably do in a free hit video is have a structure similar to this, and then show one with Haaland, but there will be some big sacrifices. I think there will be huge compromises. Fernandes to a budget midfielder, for example, that could be one of them, and it won't look as balanced. Spurs always give City problems. Aston Villa look very poor today and might affect Watkins considering Gyökeres got better service at the same 9 million price point. I know preseason doesn't count, but Watkins was very sharp there, and if he does get the service, and I think he will against Brentford, he's going to have a very decent day. He's got a great record against them. It's his former club. And Brentford have so many outgoings, of course, we all know this, and I think Aston Villa could take advantage. I'd back them to win that. Nico out for Cucurella. West Ham is rubbish. Yeah, but Bowen could still score in a 3-1 loss for West Ham. And I do like Nico Williams against Crystal Palace, even if you might argue having 2 defenders from the same game it rarely pays off, let's put it that way. Boris says, I've had a right stinker, 9 points, but I have Palmer, Neto, Pedro, Gabriel, Raya, Gyökeres, and Aina. Yeah, 9 points is looking bleak, but you've got some great players left. That's the saving grace for you, and hopefully by the end of tomorrow, things are looking much better for you. Thinking of switching it up, especially because I have Bowen and Wan-Bissaka, which stank. No one expected that, mate. I mean, for Sunderland to win, it was always possible, but for that to be 3-0 is crazy. Cunha did that in Wolves as the solo main man. In United, he looks lost. Yeah, look, it's early days. He's only played preseason so far. And look, Watkins was amazing in the summer, and he blanked in Gameweek 1 with no chance really of scoring. I still think Cunha can adapt very quickly to that United system, playing as the left inside forward, which he did so often for Wolves, actually. Saka or Haaland captain? I would favour Saka at the moment, but that's just a fixtures thing. Sunderland fixtures look decent, especially their first against Big Six in Gameweek 7. Yeah, great point. And a lot of people were saying, why are you going for Reynildo instead of Esteve? Well, because I preferred Sunderland's fixtures, and I don't want to double up on Burnley defensively. And in hindsight, it looks like I've made the right call, but we are in early days territory. Newcastle or Bournemouth for clean sheet next 6 game weeks. It's probably worth going to the FDR for that again. So next 6 game weeks, let's go to here. So game week 2 to 7. If we check this, let's sort it out by defense, which is what you're asking about. Yeah, Bournemouth are higher ranked here. They're 3rd, and Newcastle are 4th. It's really close, actually. I'm going to say, based on what I think, I'm going to say Newcastle. Yep. Over the next 6, I would favour a Newcastle defender over Bournemouth. The Game Week 2 specifically, obviously a very different answer, which is why I've currently got Petrovic in this free hit team. But yeah, Haaland likely to be ballistic this season. Good for my second team. Yeah, look, I expect Haaland to score 25 plus league goals comfortably, probably get 30 plus again. But yeah, he does cost 14 million. Maybe this season is where we go back to the Haaland train and away from Salah, but who knows? It's really early on. If Ndai does well, would you consider him free hit too? Yeah, I would consider him, but at the moment, I don't think I'll go there. Especially after he got humbled after the Arsenal game. I think he actually spoke about that, and I think what he said was actually, fair play. Arsenal fans don't even hate him, actually, but obviously there was that time straight after that 2-2 draw. He was like basically saying, "Oh, who the hell are you?" to Luis Skelly and Gabriel Jesus and to Arteta. I found that a bit strange. He's saying stay humble to Arteta. Like, he didn't say anything, but it is what it is, right? And it's nice to have a bit of like of a rivalry. Not everything huggy, hunky-dory. Let's have a bit of a rivalry like back in the day, Arsenal, Man United. It's good for the Premier League, in my opinion. Native Faith says bench 2 out of these 4 defenders. Good question. I would probably bench... That is a good question. That's a really close one. I'm going to go for Pedro Porro on the bench and Estev. Yeah, I would captain Saka next week. Latino Dialect says 76 points so far. I'm so stoked. Never achieved this on my first match day. Salah Haaland team was definitely worth it. Yeah, hopefully you've got a few players left on Sunday and Monday to secure that, but that's a great score, and hopefully you get a really good rank to start the season with and can build upon that from Game Week 2 onwards. Thank you, Bada, but yeah, no worries about that. I was just saying, I've been going live now for what? Yeah, 2 hours. It's not too bad. I did start late today. I got home and I literally set things up and I was quite quick about it. Thank you very much, Adam Fine. Best people content or FPL content, but thank you very much either way. Start Anderson or Porro Game Week 2. I would start Porro. I think both of them will concede, but with Pedro Porro, you've got so many avenues to points. I will sell Salah near the AFCON tournament, especially if he gets an early release. We might feel differently about that. If Salah continues to disappoint with the performances, we might actually think about selling him earlier to go to that Erling Haaland sort of structure. Yeah, I think Gordon against Liverpool could be absolutely fine. And as good as Liverpool look offensively, and with all their new signings, I think they look very shaky at the back. Konsa replacement, I'm not a big fan. Like, Van der Ven is fine, but I wouldn't buy him now. I certainly wouldn't buy Wan-Bissaka or Diouf at the moment. I'd probably say one of Gay or Richards is my initial thoughts at the moment. Yeah. That's why I don't trust pre-season. Some of FPL careers too focused on performances. Yeah, that might be true. I try to balance myself a little bit, but one example is Reinders. He scored a brace in the last pre-season friendly, and then he scores a goal and assist against Wolves. So sometimes it can work, but in the case of Watkins, so far it hasn't. Another example of pre-season form working is choosing Gakpo over Wirtz, which has worked in my favour, but maybe in others it hasn't done so much. I had Reinders and Van der Ven on the bench. Oof, that's really tough to take, and you're probably regretting not bench boosting there, but it is what it is. Livramento should start most games. Lewis Hall had some injury problems, that's why Trippier started, but Newcastle's first choice back four will be Livramento on the right, Hall on the left, We could see Chow, the new signing, starting alongside Fabian Schär. I think that will be the main back four for Newcastle this season. Sell Bowen, Ivanovic and Mateta alternatives. I get it. They're good alternatives and transfers there, so I don't think it's a bad idea, but I'd probably keep Jared Bowen for now. I know West Ham were terrible today, but Bowen scored against Chelsea a few months ago in a 2-1 loss at Stamford Bridge on his first game back, I think. He scored against Arsenal as well shortly afterwards. Voice crack. So yeah, I think Bowen is still a good option, but obviously today was a big concern. Easy says, especially pre-season, not a real game, only warm-ups. Yeah, that's true. Even, look, the UEFA Super Cup final is a trophy. It was an important game, but PSG kind of took it like a pre-season match, if you think about it. And they trained for like 6 days with no friendlies, nothing, and no matches in over a month. But yeah, I think you make a good point there. Lager says, just tuned in, who will go up in price and go down? Well, according to livefpl.net, only Rangers will go up, and it's not a certainty, but if there is one player to have a price fall or rise, it will be Rangers, and obviously it will be up to 5.6 if that's the case. FPL aside, are you on any series? Well, as in, am I watching any shows? Yeah, Vinland Saga. No spoilers, please. I'm also watching Jujutsu Kaisen. And I think that's it, actually. Oh, and Andor. But I've only watched like 2-3 episodes of the new season of Andor. So yeah, I'm watching 3 shows at the moment. And because I went on holiday, I haven't watched anything in a couple of weeks. So I need to get back on track. Ryan says 67 points with 4 players to go. That's looking really promising. Well played. S says sell 1 Diouf, Wirtz and Rodgers. I'd rather sell Diouf from those 3. Even though the alternatives aren't as great. Isak will go down. It's possible, but when I checked the website livefpl.net, he was nowhere near a price fall, so to speak. But maybe I'm wrong, and maybe livefpl.net is wrong, which is quite rare. Forest will sign Douglas Luiz, not good for Anderson's minutes. I still think we could see Anderson alongside Douglas Luiz with Sangare on the bench, but that's one to monitor, and another key reason why I went for Rangers in the end. Oliver says 37 points with 5 players so far. Rangers on the bench. Got Sanchez, Tarkovsky, Nico Williams, Bruno Palmer, and Solanke. Yeah, at least you got some good players tomorrow. Solanke obviously was very disappointing. I had an initial kind of feeling a few days ago that Solanke could start, but then obviously in my deadline stream I shared my final predictions and I had Richarlison back in there. And after that brace, it's not looking good for Solanke. Mark Guiu had no minutes whatsoever. I don't think he's going to go down in price at the moment, but yeah, don't hold me on that, to be fair. Also, Forest just signed, Camimwedo. I need to check some of these pronunciations, by the way, and lock it in, because before I was like saying Lacroix instead of Lacroix, which is much better. Chris Wood minutes risk, especially with his age, as well as Igor Jesus. Yeah, I still think Chris Wood is first choice, but I don't think they're going to score many goals. And ultimately, Forest looked terrible in pre-season from an attacking perspective, but defensively, really solid. But welcome Latino dialects, even though we are approaching the very end, just saying. Lager, no worries. Thoughts on Dewsbury Hall? As a Fabian option, I like him, but he could play deeper with this signing of Jack Grealish. We could see Grealish in the number 10, in Dye on the left, one of Alcaraz or McNeil on the right. And we could even see, for example, Grealish on the left, in Dye shifted to the right. Dewsbury Hall maintains that cam spot, attacking midfield. But we could see a lot of alterations in that Everton midfield and attack, which is quite promising. Jacob Murphy was great last season. Elanga taking his place is a bit frustrating. Yeah, and also Murphy was arguably Newcastle's best player in pre-season, so it does seem a bit harsh. But Elanga will be first choice. I just thought that maybe Murphy would start in Game Week 1, so I did get that wrong. I meant Mateta, by the way. Instead of Solanke, right? Yeah, that's looking good. Nice. Andor is so good. I like Season 1. It's a slow burner, as people say, but I think it's, compared to other Disney shows, especially Star Wars, it just has more depth to it. Good characters, acting, and writing. So I do like Andor. I need to get back to it, though. Otherwise, I'll forget what happened. 51 points, 6 players left. Really good stuff. Check concert update on the FPL website. I just refreshed the page. I think that's the way to do it. Oh, it's logged me out. What is this? Anyway, this might be a nice time to do a segue. If you haven't already, subscribe, like the video, and all that good stuff. Hit the notification bell. You're always up to date with my FPL and UCL fantasy content that way. And yes, I'm going to log back into the FPL website. I don't know why it keeps logging me out. It's really annoying. It keeps doing that on the app as well. But yeah, Concert is now red flagged. So people are aware now that he is unavailable for Game Week 2, following that red card against Newcastle. So yeah, let's go back to that. And yeah, very shortly I will be wrapping up. No, price rises typically happen at around 1 to 2 a.m. So wait, with the current time zone, I think it's 1:30 a.m. Roughly around that time, we're going to see it. Join the Discord server, and any price changes will be shown there immediately on the dot. The same goes for injury updates, suspensions. So if Consa gets the red flag, you will see it instantly. So join the Discord server. It's a great community to be a part of as well. Daka says, went for Haaland instead of Salah last minute. Many routes to points on Liverpool, and he is roulette proof. Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, so far it's looking good for Haaland owners, and it's something I'm going to consider in the coming weeks as well. I do prefer Salah, though, over the next 3 game weeks. I'm going to say that, though. Missed out on Livramento, Bowen blank. Yeah, but a lot of us thought Villa would score some goals and maybe even win the game. Just finished Mobland, Tom Hardy, about to finish one called Smoke. Yeah, I can't lie, they're not on my shortlist, but maybe I'll have a look as well. I need to watch Andor Season 2, says Sefa. Yeah, I think it's good so far, but I'm at the slow part. I think it starts ramping up in the next couple of episodes, actually. Thoughts on Gyökeres captain versus Leeds? I'm very bullish on it, and I do think he'll take penalties off Saka and Odegaard eventually. Maybe not from the get-go, but it should be the case very soon. I'm looking at Saka at the moment as my captain if I free hit, but yeah, Gyökeres is certainly up there. You'll see that in the deadline stream with the final rankings for the captaincy. I think Marmoush will start against Tottenham, Gale, so if anything, I'd rather sell Diouf. Then you can go to Nico Williams as a 5 million defender, for example. What do you think of keeping Salah until Game Week 4, then switching to Haaland tonight, going with the fixtures? Yeah, I'd keep Salah for now. I said this yesterday before the deadline. Whoever you go for between Haaland or Salah, even both, just stick with them and then reassess going forwards. Game Week 2, 6 deadline time is terrible for me, 3:30 p.m. Yeah, the next one is Friday deadline again, and I will be going live around 2 hours before the deadline. Easy says, how long until we buy Isak into the team? As I mentioned yesterday, I think he will have his future decided by the very end of the transfer window, and that will be around the Game Week 3, well, past the Game Week 3 deadline. So I'd say Game Week 4 is when we can consider Isak in our FPL teams again. Yeah, the app is very annoying. I don't close the app anymore because it logs you out randomly. So yeah, in my case, I refresh the page to have the concert red flag update, but when I do that, you're logged out. Lewis Beck says, I only got 35 points with 5 players left. Yeah, not a great score, but you got 5 players, and if you have Palmer in there, I'd be still cautiously optimistic in your case. Are there any good Mortal Kombat series out there? I think it would slap. Yeah, I don't think so, but I'm not the one to ask for that, to be fair. And yeah, Lager with the, whatever, the emoji. Who even does that celebration or something? There's a player who does that. I'm not even going to do that again, by the way. Farad132 says, should I get Reinders instead of Anderson right now? Yeah, I did cover your question before, I believe, and I said yes. I don't think Anderson is a priority sell, but I think long-term Reinders is the better pick. Oliver says, triple captain Salah in Game Week 4, then change him for Haaland Game Week 6. That's a great shout. I do like the look of that. Jordan says, 69 points and counting. Pedro and Palmer to play. Game Week 2-wise, I'm stuck for captaincy between Sesko, Pedro, Gyökeres. I would go for Gyökeres, but between the others, Pedro would be ranked higher than Sesko. Also, Virts or Rodgers for a starting spot. I'd go for Rodgers. Yeah, I've been logged out several times on Safari, Brave, Firefox, and the app. So you've tried out everything, basically. I've also done the same thing. Different computers, on my laptop, also on my phone. Yeah, it just... I keep getting the same problem. It wasn't really a thing last time. I think last season I would get signed out occasionally. so I would have to like verify for security reasons. That's absolutely fine, but this is literally every single day, basically, even multiple times within the same day. Doku could start against Spurs. I'm not ruling that out, but I think Marmoush will get the nod against Tottenham, and they can play together, by the way. We saw that multiple times at the back end of last season. The app cannot access to look rank beyond the last season. Last season we can see rank as long as we can, but this has a limit, especially the top ranks. Yeah, there seems to be a lot of issues with the app at the moment. All of my friends have been complaining about it, and they're quite casual FPL players, and I think a lot of more experienced ones have also felt the same way. Yeah, Dybala celebrates like that, doesn't he? Yeah, I think so. I was going to say Dybala, but I kind of forgot about him, to be honest. He hasn't really been in the mainstream for a while. Gail says, my defense is Aït-Nouri, Diouf, Van der Ven, Nico Williams, and Esteve. Who should I sell Diouf for? You could get away with benching him for now, to be honest, and then reassess, but I think he will be a sell very soon. When Konsa's back from suspension, he's my favourite to replace him, but otherwise, as I talked about a few hours ago or minutes ago, it would be one of Richards or Mark Gay to replace him. Saw XZ says, should I keep Frimpong or switch? No money in the bank. I'd keep Frimpong for now, but he's definitely a big concern at the moment with that early substitution. The next two fixtures don't look great, and Liverpool were terrible defensively yesterday against Bournemouth. Easy says, when I tried to look at the rank in your league, it only limited to rank 32. That's pretty poor. Maybe by the end of the points calculation, it should be fine, but yeah, that's not really acceptable, is it? Jakob says, hi Dylan, hope you're well. Good luck with this year's season, mate. Thank you, and likewise to you. How are you feeling after these last 2 days? A bit relieved, to be honest, because I got so much content done. I got back from my holiday on Wednesday, and yeah, it was kind of a rush to get the team selection and lineup videos out, but I was kind of preparing them already from over a week, basically. And my main concern was locking in a squad I was happy with, and so far not too bad, but still could be better. Hopefully you're doing well as well. Doing well too. Nobody talking about Aït-Nouri? Well, people are. Trust me, they are talking about him. Maybe not as much as he deserves, but yeah, Wolves was always a good chance of a clean sheet. I did predict 2-0 for Man City. I don't think they'll keep one against Spurs. Start one of Anderson or Aina. I'd go for Aina. Coding Life says, great to see you back, Dylan. I've been looking forward to these streams. Thank you, and so have I. These are probably the best part of FPL content, even though I like making graphics and editing and doing the videos. Yeah, I think nothing beats a live stream, to be honest. Easy says, I have to go Chrome to look at the rank, then have to log in. So actually yesterday, when I was preparing the scenes and stuff like that for the stream, I wanted to use Chrome because on the browser I'm using now, as you can see, I can't have the purple background. I can only have the white one, even though the settings have been turned on. So I went on Chrome, I had everything done, and Chrome is very, very intense. It uses up a lot of resources from the CPU, so I actually had to reverse everything and switch to browsers again, because I have another browser open to show the messages. And yeah, it was just an absolute mess. But Google Chrome is good, but it's also very resource heavy. Even the deadline was delayed by 2 minutes or so. I think it was more than that, maybe 6 or 7. Yeah, I don't know what was happening yesterday. Keep Tielemans or switch to Kudus in Gameweek 3 or 4. I'd probably switch to Kudus around Gameweek 3 or 4, but Tielemans is still a decent FPL option. And he might even score against Brentford and you feel differently by next week, but I think Kudus is the better asset. Best websites to watch Premier League and UCL games free from online. Whoa, that's a sensitive subject. If anyone has a link, then put it, but I'm not. Yeah. Rangers starting in Gameweek 2? I think so, yeah. But it could be a deeper position, actually. Only 25 points, unfortunately. But, as you say, Farad, 7 players left. Yeah, just to say, Farad, I'm not trying to be rude, but just put your message once and I'll read it. You don't need to put it twice. Thank you very much. Raman says, is 70 points plus Palmer, Sanchez and Ndai okay for the first game week? Yes, it's more than okay. And I think, yeah, Palmer's going to do really well tomorrow. Rodri and Foden was in the stands. Yeah, and Rodri could be back even sooner than we initially thought. And City's depth is insane, to be honest. I'd say so, Gale, but you don't have to do it yet. You've got decent defensive depth, so maybe you can afford to do that in Game Week 3 or 4 instead. What do you think about the Southampton players? I'm guessing you're saying Sunderland. Reynildo Mandava is my favourite. He's in my team. I might even start him in Game Week 2 if I don't free hit. Apart from that, it's a wait and see. I just think West Ham were poor today. Should I bring in Semenyo for Wirtz in Game Week 2, then Semenyo for Bruno in Game Week 3? I would say no. I would keep Wirtz for now. I hope Lamine Yamal wins the Ballon d'Or next year. He's the most talented player around. Yeah, I think Yamal will win plenty of Ballon d'Ors. He might even get close to the kind of Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi numbers, but that would obviously be a big ask. We all thought that about Kylian Mbappe as well, and he hasn't even won one yet. Mr. Scuffy misses a lot says, does anyone know if they'll put the full DEFCON information for the rest of the games like they've done for the Liverpool game? Well, they do. If you go to the website and you check the fixtures, they do show the amount of defensive actions each player has done. Mo Salah almost got 12 CBIT and 2 extra points in yesterday's game. Yeah, that would have been very helpful and a nice surprise for sure. Mid-game week streams are clutch. Thank you, Sky. This is obviously not a mid-week one, but there will be midweek streams throughout the season, especially when we have like 2 or 3 deadlines within the same week. Brave is basically Chrome without the ads and uses much less resources. Yeah, but with Chrome, you can also get extensions where you can block ads on any website. And the thing is, from my experience, Brave hasn't been as resource heavy as Chrome. You are correct, they are basically the same thing. But for some reason, Chrome just takes up so much CPU usage and it made things very weird. So if I started the stream with Google Chrome, it would have been very laggy for people watching. Van Dijk out for Cucurella for Game Week 2. Not a bad idea, but I'm also going to say no here. Because Van Dijk can still get defensive contributions. And against Burnley away in Game Week 4, that's a great fixture. And with Chelsea, they've got really good fixtures for the first 4 or 5 game weeks, but beyond that, the FDR, I mean, they're not actually ranked that highly a bit longer term. I'd say Wirtz is not a player to sell. Yeah, UCL is just a month away. The game is out. UCL Fantasy was released 2 days ago. I agree, FPL Glory. Watkins will haul against Brentford. He almost always does. I hope he does perform because, yeah, I've got a bit of a bad history with him. Would I sell Marmoush and Caicedo better than Anderson? I'd keep Anderson for now. I'm not sure if Caicedo is better than him. My problem with the Ecuadorian is that with Chelsea, I mean, would you really take up a Chelsea spot with Caicedo? He's good, but I think the ideal one is Cucurella, Palmer, João Pedro. And if not, you've gone for Robert Sanchez in goal. And also, I think Marmoush will start at the moment. Based on that assumption, I would keep Marmoush for 1 more week. 9.8 million just broke the app in the opening game or game week. Yeah, we should get to 10 million FPL players very soon, but unfortunately some of them are second teams and hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions will be dead teams very soon. How to get back from a bad game week? Be patient, don't chase last week's points, or in this case, the points from today and yesterday. I think that is the best piece of advice I can give because when I first started playing FPL casually, I just kept making transfers, taking hits, and whilst it maybe paid off once in a while, more often than not, I lost out on a lot of points by being very trigger happy. Jakob says, I'm doing well, thank you. Mixed feelings about my team. Happy with some defensive decisions, but I had a Haaland draft of Gakpo and chose Salah and Bowen. Yeah, I understand the frustrations there, but at least your defense is doing the job. I'm a bit more concerned about my defensive line now with Konsa's red card and obviously Frimpong's 1-pointer. Yeah, I think Eze starts against Chelsea, but he is linked with Spurs, and if we get an update of him joining, then maybe he doesn't, play another Palace game again, beyond tomorrow. So, well, obviously the game is tomorrow, the one you're asking about, but I think he will start tomorrow, but by game week 2-3, we could see him as a Tottenham player, unfortunately. Without bias, rank the 5 Premier League teams in UCL this season on how far they can go in the Champions League. It's difficult because the Premier League is different to the Champions League and injuries, suspensions always play a part, but I think Man City and Liverpool are the favourites to go furthest. I think Arsenal would be the 3rd most likely, even though Chelsea have more pedigree in Europe. I just think Chelsea lack a little bit just yet. I think they'll reach a quarter-final or something like that, depending on the draw and stuff like that, but yeah, I'd say Chelsea would be 4th most likely, and I think Newcastle will do the worst of them all. I wouldn't really blame you if you thought Chelsea would do better than Arsenal in the Champions League, but yeah, in the league, maybe not so much. I think that would be a bit different. In Game Week 2, I'm looking to roll. The alternative is the free hit, but I'm not looking to make a transfer just yet. No worries, Mr. Scuffy-a-lot. If you're looking to find streaming sites, search for FMHY. UK government, don't hunt me. Yeah, that's why VPNs are very helpful, but they're looking to crank down on them. Hopefully I don't get cancelled. Start Kudus or whoever to start for my team. Oh, Hoover. That is a close one. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to say... I'm going to say Kudus. Yeah, Kudus for me. We are 6 likes away from 200. Let's get to that. It would be greatly appreciated. A lot of you have tuned in to the first reaction stream of the season. Yako says, if you get a chance, what do you think of my team? Yeah, it's in a really good place. Obviously, your bench is similar to what I've got. Consor's the only concern now. Bowen could be an issue in the coming weeks, but I would keep him. And the ideal 5-point family midfielder does seem to be Reinders, but Anderson remains a solid choice. Forest are signing several midfielders like Douglas Luiz, so that could be a potential concern as well. But I think at the moment you're fine. You don't need to make a transfer, and maybe you could avoid free hitting. The only downside to that is no Arsenal players against Leeds. I have Watkins captain for Game Week 2. I think that's a good shout, to be honest. I really do. Keep Larson. Yes, I mean, if you've got like 1 million in the bank and you can go to Mateta or João Pedro, then yeah, I'd recommend doing it. But I very much doubt that's the case. King or Baleba, both starting. I prefer King at the moment, but he does face Man United, of course. I wish I captained Erling Haaland. I captained Gakpo. Still, at least he scored. Got 7 points, a bit of a differential. But yeah, Haaland was the one. I'm on 77 points, ranked 12k. Wow, Ballard as well. Fair play. That is a fantastic start there. Almost half of the population of the world who have phones use Chrome for research. Yeah, I use Chrome a lot as well, but I do prefer Brave, to be fair. Watkins or Gyökeres for the next 5 game weeks? Watkins. Ahmed says Murillo, Porro, Diouf, Anderson and Esteve. Who should go out and replace with? Diouf is the one to sell, in my opinion. Ideally... Now, budget is also a concern here, right? I would say, well, Conser when he's back from suspension is my favourite. Otherwise, one of Chris Richards or Gay at the same price point. If you've got money, I really like Munoz, actually. Thoughts on Bowen? Yeah, today was a major concern for West Ham, and Bowen is still a good asset, but you really thought this was the one where he would produce returns. Then it gives you that kind of security. You don't really have second thoughts about him, but now... he does become a sudden problem in future weeks, but I think he's still a hold. My bench boost's got 15 points. Yeah, I typically say that 15 points is kind of what you're aiming for as a minimum, so I think that's fine. It's not the best score, but it's still decent enough. Captain Palmer to play, had Ekitike and Gakpo. Gakpo? Who the fuck is Gakpo? Gakpo instead of Salah. That's fine. I think you're in a good place there. Which Man City defender is safe? None is safe, or none are safe is the correct grammar. But I would say Ait-Nouri is the best one. Who would you replace Eze with if he leaves? Well, I'm not a Crystal Palace fan, and I don't have Eze in my team. But who would Crystal Palace replace him with? I think Kamada, when he's back from injury, he could be the one playing in a more advanced position. And they could sometimes play Nketiah alongside Mateta and maybe change formation slightly. But ultimately, they would need a new player in that position. Even Roman Esse could get more game time. But yeah, FPL-wise, who would you replace Eze with? I mean, I think he'll play tomorrow for what it's worth. And if he joins Tottenham, he could still be available for Game Week 3. Or Game Week 2, actually. Maybe not as a starter. But yeah, at that price and below, I'm going to say one of Kudus or Indai. I know what you mean about experience. I was tempted to sell Sarr to get Reinders after the match some years ago. I'd do it. No, not really. Yeah, that's something that I've kind of pushed to the side a little bit. I still get the urge sometimes and I do early transfers, but it's much rarer than it once was. Lager says, my plan was to bench boost in Game Week 2, but with Mark Guiu not playing, is it worth using my 1 free transfer to Croppy Jr.? I don't think so, and I think you could also bench boost in a week where you've got better fixtures for most of the top teams, apart from Arsenal. You know, City facing Tottenham, Liverpool, Newcastle. I mean, Chelsea looks good, to be fair, but yeah, I'm not so sure. I'd probably save the bench boost for another day. Mina says, if you had to lock in one player for the whole season, no matter who, or no matter what, who would it be? Oh, that's difficult to say. I mean, can I say one of Salah or Haaland? I mean, which one remains to be seen? It's looking like Haaland is looking really strong right now, but it's too early to say, in my opinion. But one of those two. Would you activate the free hit now? My plan was to free in 2 to load up on Arsenal, get a few Bournemouth and a few City, or should I wait for more info after the Sunday games instead of big injury or news? I prefer information over chasing prices, even though that obviously helps with building a stronger 50-man squad. But yeah, I would maybe wait a little bit because maybe some of your prime targets on the free hit get injured tomorrow, God forbid, but that is a possibility. Easy says, also, there are new World Fantasy Games app where there is an entire league of fantasy from around the world. Yeah, there's a bit of everything at the moment. Even different websites are having their own fantasy games, which is crazy. Yeah, I'd probably keep Consa for now, but if your defensive situation is dire, then in that situation, you might want to change that. So yeah, that was covered. Keep Salah as a captain or captain Watkins in 2. I still like Salah against Newcastle as a captaincy option, but I do rank Haaland higher. I think Watkins is very close. I'd probably captain Watkins from those two right now. The other one is, yeah, I think Saka, Gyökeres. They'd be really enticing. Should I sell Wirtz or who to bench, Gakpo or Wirtz? I'd probably just keep Wirtz. Between those two, it could easily be Wirtz doing the business against Newcastle. I'm going to say Wirtz over Gakpo for Game Week 2. I bench boosted to have a strong squad. Yeah, that's good. And then you can take off money from your bench. You know, after using the bench boost, you can then focus on your starting 11 and kind of change your structure a little bit. Roll or get an Arsenal attacker for next week. Depends who you're selling. I don't like selling Watkins as good as Gyökeres looks against Leeds next week. So the answer is probably holding what you have. I would only bring in Gyökeres against Leeds if I free hit. I don't see myself selling Watkins. I've got RS in my team, but Rangers just looks so good. Yeah, I get that. I do prefer Rangers, but RS is still decent, and he should start. Shot on Saka. Not many who have him kind of a differential. That's going to change the hill. I think a lot of people will free hit and get Saka, Gyökeres and Gabriel, and Saka will be one of the most popular captaincy options for Game Week 2. Who do you have as your 3 teams to go down and top 4 finishes? Burnley, Sunderland and Leeds still, although I think Wolves and Brentford could be sucked down in there. The top 4, I think Chelsea 4th, Arsenal, Liverpool and I think City. That was my prediction a few months ago originally in terms of who's winning the league and the top 4. So that hasn't changed. I don't think we can draw too many conclusions from City winning today. They look strong, but Wolves also look quite poor, despite creating some good chances. I've got Gakpo and Salah. I think that's fine. Any chance you have a microwave for your pizza? To be honest, I prefer pizzas, fresh off the oven, but I might just eat it cold, to be fair. I do have a microwave. I don't think I'll use it. Yeah, and it's not something I'll probably remember to tell you about in the next stream. But yeah, Gakpo and Haaland or Salah and Watkins. It's still Salah and Watkins for me, but certainly one to monitor. Salah or Palmer to captain in Game Week 2? Palmer. But don't rule out Salah. Already sold Diouf to get in Ballard for prospective team value. Fair enough. I mean, I wouldn't be in a rush to get Sunderland assets. I'm happy I've got Reinildo already, but yeah, I mean, I just think West Ham were poor. I went through the prices earlier, and the only potential change, it seems, according to livefpl.net, is Rangers to go up. That's it. How would you transition your team for a bench boost later on? That is a good question. I mean, Mark Guiu would be the priority. It might even require selling Salah, for example, but then I'd also be without Haaland, so that could also be a very worrying time, so to speak. But yeah, I think Salah could be a possible sacrifice there. The other consideration would be downgrading some of my defenders because I've gone quite big at the back here. Want to sign Gyökeres to replace Watkins? I like Gyökeres next week. I don't blame you for thinking it, but I wouldn't sell Watkins personally. And then celebrate like Gyökeres when he scores against Leeds. Yeah, a bit of a weird thing for a Chelsea fan to do, but yeah, the more the merrier. Using chips without seeing all teams play, at least highlights, doesn't look like the best thing. I agree, as you can get surprises like West Ham being crap and Sunderland playing really well. I think that's a fair point. I don't disagree with you there. 0.68 XG for Sunderland in their 3-0 win today. Still hope for Dubravka Stev? Yeah, sure. It might even be Burnley winning next week, contrary to what we currently think. Obviously, this reaction stream is just highlighting our initial thoughts. So I did cover my really rough free hit team. I'm going to do that very quickly here, just to show you, but feel free to rewind as well. This is currently what I've gone for. So yeah, this is the sort of squad. And here is like an alternative with Cucurella instead of Nico Williams and Cunha instead of Bruno. But that's something I'll deliberate, and I'll finalize a free hit squad for that video this week. Gale with 49 points. No, you shouldn't be worried. That's good points and also good players there. Jared Bowen let everyone down this round. His owners, yeah, he didn't let me down. Can we sell him and bring in a better player? Well, Joao Pedro, Mateta are good options. Are they better? Maybe Joao Pedro is, but not the other options for me. I'd keep Bowen for now. What app can you use to see the DEFCON stats for players? Well, I think SofaScore and different websites like that are pretty good for it, but they're not going to give you a CBIT score. You have to calculate it yourself. I think Fantasy Football Hub and Fantasy Football Scout are the ones who have stats for DEFCON. And the FPL website do show which players are getting DEFCON, actually. But you won't be able to see it for last season. Yeah, thoughts on the starting 11. I like the look of it. You've got some interesting differentials, and I'm guessing some of them are well tailored for this week only. But yeah, it's looking good. No Arsenal is the only concern, but you can't have them all, to be honest. But yeah, I'm going to go. It has been a while. I haven't eaten, like I said, in like 10 hours at this point. It is time for me to eat. How's it going? A mixed reaction to the opening games. I'd love to get Richarlison, but unsure of minutes. I still think Solanke's the first choice striker. I wouldn't go there, but he's got a brilliant brace today, that's for sure. Stefan says, would you do Marmoush and Verts to Semenyo and Saka for a -4? I'd say yes. As much as I like Marmoush and Verts, and I think Marmoush will start, I'm going to say yes. It's risky, though. I wouldn't pull the trigger yet. Think on it. Sleep. You know, have a sleep and see how you feel in the morning. What's the best match you've been to see in terms of atmosphere and your personal preference? I went to see Spain play Northern Ireland in Mallorca, and that was my first game. Great atmosphere. Well, the best atmosphere would be a Rosario Central game. It was against Sarmiento, and it was just after Central won a Clásico. So they beat Newell's Old Boys in a derby just a few days beforehand, and literally at the beginning of the game there were fireworks, like you couldn't see anything, and the atmosphere was rocking. Everyone was jumping, dancing, singing. That's the best atmosphere. The best game, I think one of my favorites is Argentina beating Italy 3-0 in the Finalissima final. Yeah, just seeing the national team, and obviously they went on to make history, winning 4 trophies in a row. So yeah, that would probably be my answer. From an Arsenal perspective, is a bit different maybe. I mean, I've seen some nice victories in the Champions League and Prem, but yeah, I think that's probably the 2 standout games for me. Does anyone eat pizza with garlic dressing in the UK? Interesting question. Seo says, what to do next week with Van der Ven facing City and Diop facing Chelsea? Ideally, I'd make a change there. I'd probably look to sell Diop and try to fix things that way. Evening, Dylan. It's been a while. I've stuck with my decision to not play FPL this season. I did think about it during the summer, but ultimately I feel like it ruins the way I watch football. Well, that's fair enough. I mean, if you're not enjoying it, then it's not really worth playing, but it is a shame. Hope all is well, though, and I will still say hello if I see your live throughout the season. I appreciate that, Adil, and hopefully we see you back next season, and maybe UCL Fantasy is where you want to turn your attention to, but I very much doubt it. Can we consider Gibbs White for the next rounds? Yeah, we certainly can, but I think with Forest, it's best to go for Sells in goal or one of their defenders. I wouldn't recommend their attackers right now. That doesn't mean Gibbs White can't be an option and Chris Wood, but I think there are better choices elsewhere. Kudus going to Spurs made Bowen doesn't help getting the help there from players like him. Yeah, but Kudus was poor last season and Bowen was still very good. But obviously it's still a big loss for West Ham. Only 29 for me with 6 to play. Yeah, 29 isn't good, but you've got a lot of players left and the Palmer captain. You've technically got 7 players left from that perspective, so that's good. 30 points, Sanchez, Palmer, Bruno, Nico and Dewsbury to play. Yeah, the first 4 players are looking solid. Dewsbury Hall, I mean, the fixture's good. Maybe he can do something. So, yeah, you can double your points, I think, by Monday. 34 points today, really annoying. The players I removed did well. That's FPL heritage for you, Adrian. What do you think of Roofs in net for Sunderland? I looked impressive. Yeah, he's not someone I'd recommend in FPL right now, though. I still think Sunderland won't keep that many clean sheets, but I'm happy to have Reinildo Mandava as my 4 million defender. Watkins or Bruno? Watkins. Richarlison will not give Solanke easy time to go to the starting 11, especially next year in the World Cup. Yeah, that's true. I mean, hopefully Richarlison... I don't want to say anything that comes back to bite me, but yeah. Hopefully Brazil don't win the World Cup and Richarlison flops. That's my my hope there. Especially Eze soon to Spurs. It looks like it, unfortunately. Thoughts on Marmoush benched in the first game? I'm not entirely surprised. In my final predicted lineup, which I showed yesterday in the stream, I had Marmoush on the bench. But I also had Cherki starting with Doku, and Cherki was benched too. Cheers, Dylan. Nice chatting to you. Have a good one. I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you, Jakob. It's been a pleasure. And thank you, Sil. I do speak Spanish in my household. No flex, I promise. But yeah. For those that are wondering, the Argentina flag you see on the left isn't for show. I'm not just a Messi fanboy. My family are from there. Okay? Yeah. With Carlo as the coach and the injuries last season, says easy. Yeah, look, I think Brazil will improve. They're still a contender for the World Cup, but a lot of work needs to be done. Mina says, thank you, Dylan, for the great reaction stream. Looking forward to more. Thank you very much. That's the plan. And UCL Fantasy will be soon on the agenda. Palmer captain next week, or even Joao Pedro, or just stick with the Egyptian. Yeah, Salah is still up there for me, but at the moment, I'd say Palmer from those. 54 points, and in die, Palmer, Joao Pedro, and Cells left. Looking good, Lager. That's a solid position to be in. So, Alex, just say your question once or your message, and that's fine. You don't need to put it twice, but I would keep Rodgers. I wouldn't go to Semenyo. Adil says, another reason why any fantasy game won't be any good for me is because I'm too competitive. I second that. I agree. I also feel the same way. For example, as a Liverpool fan, the game versus Bournemouth yesterday felt so much better when points weren't involved. Yeah, I mean, for some people, it actually is the opposite, and it makes them, emotionally engaged. And imagine, for example, you've got a Liverpool player, he scores, you support them, you win the game. That's like a triple tick, you could say. But yeah, everyone's got their own opinions on it. Adrian Norris says, I think now I removed Reinders for Tielemans, swapped Nuri for Virgil. Yeah, that's really frustrating. But I still think Van Dijk long-term is better than Nuri. And Tielemans is solid, but I do prefer Reinders, obviously, which is why I started with him. No problem, Alex, and thank you everyone who's been watching. It is time to call it a day or a night, depending on where you're watching from. But you know the drill by now. Like the stream, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and check all the links in the description. And also share this with people who love UCL Fantasy and FPL, because guess what? The Champions League is now back in, 12 days' time. We've got the draw. The game has launched, UCL Fantasy, and I'll be making content for that very soon. And keep your eyes peeled for FPL videos for Gameweek 2, a best free hit squad, wildcard team, transfer tips, team selection. And if you want to see a predicted lineups podcast for Gameweek 2, then let me know down in the comment section below. I did fairly well with most of the clubs in Gameweek 1. A few inaccuracies here and there. Those are natural, but it's a nice guide, especially for newcomers to FPL. I'll see you very soon, of course, for the next deadline stream on Friday. So keep your eyes peeled for that as well. There is a lot headed your way. Good luck for the rest of Gameweek 1 and, of course, for the rest of the season.